Hello everybody, welcome back to the dough cooking show, to the dough cooking stream. If you're currently watching this live, I hope you're all having a beautiful day. Today is Sunday, today is June something or the other, it's June 9th. Hello, hello, hello. It is good to see all of my lovely little sous chefs. Hello to Tarina Chess, hello to Trash Can Cat Mom, hello to Jack, hello to Shy Chica, hello to Scribblo. It is good to see all of you. Welcome on in, and then let's also go see who else we have. I see that we have Raghav Patel today, welcome on in. And I don't see any other new names besides Drem and Veha Breha, as well as Cannabis Kid, Shark Dog, and Robin. Welcome on in. It's good to have all of you. It's good to see all of you. I hope you're all having a beautiful day today. Also Kishma9 and Asorbi, as well as Count JP. We have so many people all of a sudden just flooding on in. It is good to see all of you. Hi. So, everybody, we're going to be doing today something that has been very popularly requested. This is a dish, or specifically, this is a cuisine that people have been asking for quite some time. We are finally going to Brazil. We're finally going to be doing some Brazilian food on the show, on the stream. And we're going to be doing today shrimp coconut stew called Moqueca de Camarão. Moqueca G. I forgot how the D is pronounced in Portuguese. I'm pretty sure it's like a G sound, but we're going to be doing a essentially a coconut shrimp stew. It's going to be really simple. It's going to be really basic. It just has some onions. It has some bell peppers. It has some chilies. It has some shrimp. It has some coconut milk. But at the end of the day, it's not really crazy in terms of the actual spices going into it. You just want to make sure that you have really nice quality produce as always. Alongside it, we're going to be making some rice. The rice dish that I'll be making today is actually going to be quite inspired by a Turkish rice. This is a Turkish rice that combines orzo and regular rice as well. It's going to be cooked in some chicken stock, so something really delicious, really aromatic and flavorful. And all of that will be alongside some sautéed zucchini, because I also just wanted a vegetable dish. I feel like we've been doing so many meat-heavy things, so many stews. I wanted to get a vegetable in me, and thus zucchini was my choice. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the ingredients for today, and then we'll get started. So everybody, of course, as always, a shrimp stew begins with some shrimp. I have a bunch of shell on shrimp. This is called easy peel shrimp. Easy peel shrimp is essentially when they take the vein and the head off, but they keep the shells on. Ideally, I would buy a head on shrimp, but we'll be using the shrimp shells, guys, to make our own homemade shrimp stock. The shrimp shells, they have a lot of flavor. It's super easy to make your own shrimp stock. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do that. Super simple, super delicious, and it's just going to go ahead and give our stew another added depth of flavor. So that is why I always recommend that you buy shell on shrimp when you can. You get to make the most out of that shell. The shell is the byproduct. You get to transform it into a lovely shrimp stock. And then also, guys, we only buy frozen shrimp in this household. We'll talk about why frozen shrimp. We'll talk about how to thaw it. And we'll talk about how to actually purchase shrimp. So I have a bunch of shrimp right here. I haven't counted it. I haven't weighed it. I just took a big fistful of shrimp and I've decided, okay, this looks like it's going to be enough for my stew today. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down. And now, everybody, I have this lovely assortment of different vegetables. So we have some bell pepper. I have an orange and a red bell pepper that's going to be going into the moqueca. I have this zucchini as well as a gray squash. This will be for the sautéed zucchini, excuse me. I also am about to have all of my vegetables fall off of my plate if I don't adjust this really quickly. We have some limes, we have some onions, we have some garlic, and we also have some onions as well. So nothing too crazy. All of it is super basic. Also, hello, she is real to me. Welcome on in. Lovely to have you. I'm going to go ahead and set that down. And then everybody, last but not least, for the shrimp stew itself, we also have some coconut milk, because this is, at the end of the day, a shrimp and coconut milk stew. And the coconut milk is going to get added at the end. It's going to make the whole thing nice and creamy. It's going to be a lovely thickening agent. So 1 can of coconut milk. And then, everybody, we have a couple of other ingredients, and this was partially my inspiration for today. It was the fact that I had some leftover scallions, and I had some leftover cilantro. The moqueca itself is going to be finished with some cilantro, and then scallions are also going to get chopped up in there, because you can never go wrong with scallions. So, and then everybody, let's also talk about my rice component. This is inspired off of a Turkish rice. So not necessarily super traditional in Brazilian cooking, but I wanted to do it anyways. I have a box of orzo, and then I have some short grain rice. So we're basically going to be doing almost like a pilaf, although a pilaf can mean a million different things. But we'll be essentially sautéing the rice. We'll be sautéing the orzo, cooking it in a really delicious homemade chicken stock that we made last time around. We'll use up some existing leftovers, and we're going to have buttery, delicious golden rice, my friend. ingredients. So, orzo and rice, and both of them will be combined for the dish, and I'll be walking you through exactly how to prepare it. Okie dokie. So, what do we have? We have shrimp. We got to make some shrimp stock. We have to saute some vegetables. We got to saute the zucchini. We have to make the stew itself. Everybody, we have a lot of work coming up ahead of us. Is everybody ready for today? I would like to hear a nice yes, chef, please, and thank you. Also, Jay Led, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you as always. Gonna have a little sip of water. Okay, and everybody, a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, please check out the Patreon, !Patreon to join, or to be able to find the link to it, rather. The goal is to be able to do this full time one day, and so any and all help is really appreciated. Additionally, if any of you have any cooking questions, feel free to ask me. It can be about this dish, it can be about something else. And so at any point in time, I would love for you to ask me because I am here to teach you guys how to cook at home. So, we're going to begin with the shrimp. We're going to take the shells off. We're going to make a lovely shrimp stock, everybody. Let's go ahead and begin and get ready for today. I already have my cutting board all ready to go. Also, Dangerous Mouse, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. That's very sweet of you. I have my cutting board all ready to go. And so, everybody, I have a bunch of shrimp here. So, oh gosh, excuse me. I drank the water a little bit too quickly and I had to burp. Okay, everybody, I have a bunch of lovely shrimp here. So, I'm going to teach all of you how to buy shrimp, especially if you're in the United States and you don't live anywhere particularly coastal. Guys, the idea of sort of like fishing towns and, oh, we're somewhere coastal, so we know that the fish is fresh, it's not necessarily true. Almost all of the fish, if you go to your grocery store, if you even go to fish markets, if you go into the supermarket and you see that they have a fish counter and they're selling you thawed, defrosted shrimp, that shrimp has typically been already frozen and then de-thawed. So, in order to get the freshest possible shrimp, you're only going to want to buy frozen shrimp unless you can buy it directly off the boat, or if you want to buy live shrimp, which you can occasionally do in supermarkets. So guys, again, the majority of the shrimp that you see sold in supermarkets has already been frozen and it's just been thawed. But you don't know how long it's been thawing for. You don't know how many days it's been sitting in the counter. And so, as a result, the fish, well, in general, both the fish and the shrimp that you get from the supermarket counter, it will tend to be a little bit fishier. Because again, they thawed it purely to put into the counter. So, I buy shrimp that is called individually quick frozen, IQF. Okay, that is different from block frozen shrimp, which is essentially encased in a big block of ice. So buying individually quick frozen shrimp, the shrimp are all individually separated, and the way to thaw them, super easy guys, super simple. Bowl, water from the sink, just running cold water, put the shrimp inside, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes to thaw that way. Not hot, not warm water, but cold running water. And so that's all that I did with these little guys. All I did was I thawed them, I got them ready to go for today, and so we'll be just prepping them. We'll be taking the shells off, and the shells will be used towards the shrimp stock. Because again, I want to make the most out of the things that we already have. I don't want to have to waste any of the shrimp shells, and so I don't recommend buying shell-off shrimp. Buy shell on, use the shells to make a lovely stock, and then that way, my friends, we just get to make the most out of everything. So, I will be tying up my hair really quickly, and then we will begin by simply loading up the pot with a bunch of lovely shrimp shells. Get them all ready to go for today. I don't even think I necessarily needed this plastic cutting board for this, but that's okay. Does Chef have strong opinions on shrimp heads? I wouldn't say I have particularly strong opinions on the subject matter, other than it's nice to get the shrimp heads to use towards a shrimp stock. For whatever reason, in my area, I can't buy head-on frozen shrimp. All of my frozen shrimp, at best, is called easy peel, meaning heads off and veins off, okay? But generally speaking, I would ideally like to buy head-on shrimp. Especially because the shrimp that they say has already been deveined, they oftentimes don't do a very good job of taking off that vein to begin with, okay? So, all that we're going to do, my friends, is we're going to go through every single one of these and just take off the shells. Chef, excuse me, Shai Chica asks me, are IQF shrimp usually shell on? The answer is, it depends. It depends. Sometimes you can find shell off. You'll find it specified on the package, okay? And so the only thing we're going to do, everybody, is just get all of those lovely shells off. So I'm gonna go ahead and just break that open a little bit, pop out Mr. Shrimp, pop him out of the shell, all out of the shell, and keep all of that meat nice and beautifully intact. And that's one lovely shrimp. And all that we have to go ahead and do, guys, is just go ahead and just repeat with everything that we have here. Chef, I still have a glass with leftover curry paste, and I don't know what to do with it besides curry. I mean, Jack, that is a bit of a limiting question. Consider adapting it into some sort of a sauce. That could be a bit of a good idea, but otherwise, yeah, curry paste is meant to be made into a curry, right? So that's a bit of a difficult question for me to answer, I suppose. These are some beautiful shrimp, aren't they? So, everybody, this is going to be a little bit mundane. This is going to be a little bit repetitive. All that I'm actually doing here is I'm just going through it, and I'm just going to peel the shrimp one by one until all of them are ready to go for today. Okay, and then the shrimp themselves, they'll just be put into the stew. They'll be really, really gently finished, and then I will teach you guys how to make a lovely shrimp stock. But at the moment, we're just peeling them. Just got to rinse and repeat. Go through these bad boys one by one. Okay, there's no need to rush. Right, there's nothing crazy. This is nothing technical for us to do here. Right, we're just peeling up all of my lovely little guys, all of my lovely little shrimps. Yeah, and so if you have any questions for me, this would be a very, very nice time to ask me. Curry glazed chicken or pork or extra aromatic compost. Yeah, Serena, I don't know if curry paste would be the best thing to put into compost. Although that is better than just throwing it away, right? Because you do still get a little bit more use out of it. I don't know if you can compost curry paste, is my actual legitimate concern here. Okay, so keep it going. Keep plucking it, keep plucking it. Let's get all of those shells off, my friends. Every single last one of them. Off they go. We've got places to be today. Come on, buddy. Thank you very much. Yeah, and there's no really strong method to this, guys. The easy peel shrimp are exactly what they say they are. They're easy to peel, right? You can just sort of take your hand in there, you just open them up. Do I buy by weight or by unit? So Veha, I just buy whatever pack of shell on. My selection of shrimp available to me is incredibly limited. I don't have the access to a lot of different varietals. And so I just buy frozen bags of shrimp. They're already portioned, so it's not like I can buy it by the pound. Okay, so to buy shrimp by the pound, it would need to be already like typically thawed shrimp. I don't know if there's anywhere that actually sells you frozen shrimp by the pound. Okay, so just going through it one by one. And again, ideally, if you can, guys, I mean, the best kind of shrimp to get would be live. But if you live in a majority of the United States, you don't necessarily have access to live shrimp. So again, frozen shrimp is going to be your best bet to get high quality, the freshest possible seafood. Okay. Ooh, ow. I stabbed myself with that shrimp shell just now. Ouch. They're a little bit pointy. That was a little bit sharp. Ooh, terrible. Okay, and I think that's almost done. She loves that everybody calls you chef. She said that you're super cute. Thank you, Dangerous Mouse. I'm glad that your friend is enjoying the show. Okay, so it seems as though we have all of the shrimp nicely peeled. And everybody, let's just do our due diligence. Let's just feel up every single one of the shrimp just to see if there's any shells that we left behind. Because remember, this is going into a stew. You want to have a nice soft bite out of everything, okay? You don't want to accidentally bite into a shrimp shell. Do your due diligence. Just feel for it, feel for it, feel for it. See if we can find it. And I think at the moment we should be... Oh, hello, little guy. I seem to have forgotten a little tiny scrap of shell. Let's get all of that back inside. And guess what? That's it. That is all the work that we had to do in terms of actually peeling up the shrimp. And I forgot to actually get a waste bowl for today. Everybody, do as I say and not as I do. So important. Always, when you cook, you need a little waste bowl to put all of your scraps, anything that you're going to be throwing away, all of it into a waste bowl, because you don't want to go between the cutting board and the trash can. Jumping back and forth like that, it is so much effort, it is so much unnecessary work that you truthfully do not need to do. Okay, so the shrimp shells, I'm going to go ahead and put behind me really quickly. The rest of the shrimp, my friends, I'm going to be taking and putting it into the fridge in the meantime, because we will not need this for a little while. Okay, so let's talk about the shrimp stock really quickly, my friends. I'm going to go ahead and just pour in some nice cold water over this, and I am actually going to blow your minds a little bit about just sort of shrimp stock and how it's actually really, really different from other forms of stock and why it gets done so quickly. So, on the stove at the moment, all I have, just some shrimp shells and some water. If you would like an extra toasted shrimp flavor, what you could do is fry the shells in some oil. Now, everybody, You do not need to make a shrimp stock that takes more than 10 to 15 minutes at absolute most. This is something that America's Test Kitchen, specifically Dan Souza, tested. On What's Eating Dan, he had a whole edition about shrimp, he had a whole thing about buying shrimp and everything, and they did a bit of a test in terms of how do you get the most aromatic shrimp broth. And here's what was essentially found. Past 5 to 10 minutes of boiling, what ends up happening is you end up evaporating a lot of the aromatic compounds, a lot of the things that make a shrimp stock nice and delicious and flavorful. You do actually end up losing those flavors instead. So you get diminishing returns. So what am I just trying to say? Once we put in the water, we take it, we bring it to a simmer, and we cook it 5 to 10 minutes at absolute maximum. You do not need to cook the shrimp stock any more than that. Any more, and you'll actually lose flavor. This is different from something like a chicken stock. In a chicken stock and a beef stock, your goal is to transform the collagen into gelatin, and that takes 3 hours, 2.5 hours, assuming we're not using a pressure cooker. For a shrimp stock, all we gotta do, shrimp, water, slap a lid on it, 5 to 10 minutes, and that's gonna be all. Okay, and so that's exactly what we'll do. Also, how was the parade? Jack, the parade was honestly whatever. I don't think parades are for me. Not really my thing. I don't know. Especially, it doesn't have to just be a pride parade. Or in general, any festival, any parade, I just find them to be like a lot. It's a lot of people. You can't really talk to people that easily. I don't like being outside that much. So I don't think it was actually for me. But in the meantime, enough about me, enough about parades. Let's just go ahead and talk about the shrimp. All I'm gonna do, take it, slap the heat onto it, guys. Medium to medium high heat, 5 to 10 minutes until it is gonna be all done. Does anybody have any questions for me? Just keeping myself nice and hydrated for today. My lips are a little bit chapped, and I don't know if you guys know, but talking a lot with slightly chapped lips, one of life's most uncomfortable things that could possibly happen to you. Okay, so what else do we have to do? We have to make the shrimp stock itself, and then we're actually going to be almost marinating the shrimp, and we'll talk about what we're doing. We're going to basically soak it in a mixture of just some lime juice and salt, and we'll just talk about the effect that that's going to have on the final shrimp product. So let's go ahead and get that started. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have a nice bowl in which I can put all of my lovely little shrimp into. Let's see. This bowl might be a little bit big, but I think this will work out just okay. Lovely. So, everybody, here's what we're going to essentially marinate the shrimp in. And we'll talk about even why I'm going through the process of marination to begin with. So, typically speaking, I will say, marinades as a concept, they get thrown around in cooking all the time. And oftentimes they don't actually do a lot. However, there's a few different chemical reactions that can take place that will have a genuine, noticeable impact on the final taste or on the final texture of something that you're trying to eat. Specifically, what we're going to be doing, my friends, is soaking the shrimp itself in a mixture of lime juice and salt. When you take especially seafood or any protein and you treat it with acid, it doesn't so much tenderize it as it does just change the texture of the shrimp on the outside. It changes the texture on the outside. The acid almost pseudo-cooks it in a way. That is what ceviche is based off of. When you take seafood, when you take shrimp, and you soak it in a bunch of acidic lime juice, the acidity ends up almost cooking the protein itself. Okay, and so we're going to be soaking the shrimp in a little bit of lime juice in order to sort of modify the texture on the outside, and then some salt. The salt is going to help make the shrimp a little bit bouncier. The salt is going to penetrate and evenly season the shrimp, and then the salt is also going to make sure that the shrimp is as juicy as possible. So everybody, 1 lime, ready to go for today. I'm just going to be slicing it in half, and we don't need a ton of lime juice or anything. I think at most we'll just be doing 1 to 2 limes worth of juice, okay? And as always, everybody, we're going to be using one of my favorite kitchen tools, the humble, the one and only citrus press. And why am I using a citrus press and not my hands? Because your hands are dainty. Your hands are delicate. You don't want to attack them with acidity, especially if you have eczema. And so, instead of straining yourself and straining your hand and wasting a bunch of lime or lemon juice, citrus press, everybody, flesh side down, take it and shove it in. Also, hello Taza, welcome on in. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Let's go ahead and pour on in the lime juice. And I think we'll only need 1 lime's worth of juice in total for the shrimp, okay? So lime, take it and squish it down Squish it down, juice it, juice it, juice it, juice it. Lovely. And in it all goes into the bowl, my friends. Okay. There we go. Excellent. Take that, pop that bad boy out. I don't think we're gonna need my citrus press for anything else today, so I'm just gonna go ahead and set that aside behind me. And now, let's go ahead and get a shrimp and some salt in there as well. I'm waiting for my water through the shrimp shells to come up to a simmer, and then afterwards, it's only gonna be 5 minutes of boiling. Okay, so some lime juice, and I'm just gonna add in a nice, generous pinch of kosher salt after I add in the shrimp, that is. Wait a second, they just announced the Age of Mythology sequel? They're making a new Age of Mythology? I thought they were done with it. When was the last Age of Mythology? Whoa. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's pretty sick. Okay, cool. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah. That's so it was a very long time ago. I see. And people still like somewhat play Age of Mythology. So I think that's pretty cool. Everybody, all of my lovely shrimp, I'm just going to go ahead and add these bad boys in directly to the lime juice. So normally I am a marinade hater. I talk about all the time that marinades don't actually do nearly as much as you think they do. Okay, but in this case, the salt will modify the texture. It'll make it a little bouncier. The acidity of the lime juice will begin almost cooking the outside of it. And the way to think about acid-based marinades, my friends, is not only do they cook the outside of it, they almost chew up the outside as well. They chew it up a little bit, they increase the surface area, they create basically a bunch of these mushy indentations, and that allows it to sort of hold on to the lime juice a little bit as it cooks. Now, this is a lot more effective for really, really thin cuts of meat, or in this case, because of how thin shrimp is, it will absolutely have a pronounced effect. So let's go ahead, let's massage that lime juice, let's massage all of that salt in, and then we'll just be putting it into the fridge until we're ready to put it into the stew. Does anybody have any questions? And that's right, the taste is also delicious. But yeah, marinades, they typically don't do as much as you think that they do. But in the case of acid-based marinades for really, really thin cuts of meat, you absolutely have a pronounced effect here, okay? Is every seafood edible raw, or do you have to look out for some seafoods? So Jack, what you just asked me is actually a fairly complicated question. Is seafood even to begin with edible raw? Well, that is a topic that is, especially by a lot of health and safety experts, quite controversial. So here's the thing. Ultimately, freezing something is what quote-unquote makes it sushi grade, right? The process of freezing something, it kills parasites. However, the process of freezing something doesn't actually kill bacteria. For seafood to be really, really safe to eat, it would need to be both flash frozen so that the ice crystals are really small, and then really, really freshly frozen so the bacteria doesn't have enough time to develop. So is every seafood edible raw? It depends on the species. If it comes from a lake, typically the advice is you don't want to eat any freshwater fish raw, because freshwater fish happens to have a lot of parasites, unless, of course, you do freeze it. So Jack, it's a complicated question and one that I don't feel entirely qualified to answer. So guys, I want you to notice something. Look at the fact that the shrimp is almost turning white once we've exposed it to the lime juice. Do you see how the surface of it almost looks like it's cooking? And that's because it essentially is. It is basically cooking inside of that lime juice. Also, Jack, you don't have to apologize for asking the question. I was just explaining that the answer is complicated. So it was a good question. It is just very case by case, and I also don't cook with enough raw seafood. Okay, but guys, take a look. It is beginning to almost pseudo cook. We'll go back in there, we'll mix it every now and then. And my shrimp stock is beginning to simmer. So let's go back to the stove. You can see it's beginning to simmer. The shells are beginning to turn a little bit orange. Okay, it's simmering. Kitchen timer, 5 to 6 minutes at most, everybody. Once again, you get, oh, hello. This is called Dara overfills the pot. Okay, but that's okay. That's fine. That happens to the best of us. I slightly overfilled it. That is okay, everybody. We'll just have to cook it with the lid off for a little bit. But yes, so everybody, once again, when it comes to shrimp stock, you really, really, really do not want to cook it past 5 to 10 minutes. The more that you smell something when it is cooking, that is a really, really good indication that the more of its aromas and its flavors are subsequently evaporating, okay? A lot of the flavor of food, right, is purely because we smell it. It is purely because we smell it and then we perceive it at the same time as us tasting something. Whoa, okay. I have to probably kill the heat on this thing, or at least maybe like take out some of the liquid, because, oh boy. Oh, buddy. This is, okay. It should be okay. I think it should be okay now. I'm just gonna shove down the shrimp shells again. Everybody, take caution to not overfill your pot when you're making stock, lest you want to experience the same exact fate that I did. Not a very pleasant fate. I'm gonna tell you that right now. So they're getting there. We're just gonna go ahead and boil them. We're gonna go ahead and simmer them really quickly. I'll go ahead and slap that lid back on. But yes, everybody, once again, so much of taste. Once we get past the basic tastes, once we get past sweet and spicy and salty and bitter and acidic, okay? Once we get past all of those different tastes and flavors, most of what you perceive as flavor is purely from the aroma. It is purely from the smell of something. So don't sleep on the aroma, guys. Don't sleep on the smell. The reason why spices taste, so wonderful and they have so much to actually say is because you're actively smelling it. Okay? Is that a shell near the fire? No, that is just a splash of water that is reflecting off of the light. So that is not indeed a shrimp shell near the fire at all. But thank you for trying to call that out, Chai Chica. I do appreciate you looking out for the safety of my kitchen. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just take a second. So, whoa, hey, it's doing the thing again. No, stop it, cut it out, please, I'm begging you. It's whenever the shrimp shells just float back up, they just want to go ahead and foam up because of all of the pressure created. So let's just go ahead and throw that heat back on, and every so often I think I'm just gonna need to push my little shells back down so that doesn't happen again. Here you go. Now that should be okay. So, I apologize. That was a little bit sloppy. That was a little bit bad form. I feel like I'm typically pretty good about these kinds of things. I have a question, asks Toolslight. Why does everyone put the lid on slightly off the side instead of all the way on? Amazing question. By building up a lot of steam, it almost creates a lot of foam. With a tight lid, if you have a lid directly on and something is aggressively boiling and it's really close to the surface of it, it can easily boil over. By putting the lid slightly sideways, okay, you're letting enough steam, you're letting enough pressure dissipate, you're letting enough steam evaporate so that it doesn't build up so much that it foams up and completely leaches out. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Chef, are aromas really smells, or did I just misunderstand? Yes, aromas are smells, but what I'm saying is the smell of the food is super, super important, because as you're eating it, even if you're not explicitly getting in there and getting a whiff of something, you are still getting a lot of the aroma in each bite. Okay, it travels up, you're still able to perceive the smell of something that is in your mouth, and that is what really gives something a lot of flavor. So almost all of taste, guys, aside from the basic tastes, sweet, spicy, acidic, bitter, umami, even though I kind of hate saying umami because it's a bit of a buzzword. All of those are things that you purely taste with your tongue, and then there's a couple of other things. For example, a metallic taste is also exclusively perceived by your tongue, as well as there's another chemical reaction that takes place when you taste carbohydrates directly. Like a plain piece of bread, your tongue does react to it. So there is a bland taste as well. But the rest of it, my friends, the aromas of something, all of that is purely perceived by your nose. Okay, the tasting begins with the smell and the appearance of the dish, that's right. Also, Catherine Queen, welcome on in. Catherine Queen, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but thank you so much for what you did the other day on Friday. That was ridiculous. That was absolutely absurd. So I don't know if you want me necessarily talking about that publicly, but thank you. I really, really do appreciate it. But if you are comfortable with that, I can mention to all of chat and sing your praises for what you did. If you would like the recognition. I don't know if that's something that you would like, though. But I'd be really happy to talk about it. So just let me know. Want to make sure that you're comfortable, that is. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just do away with a couple of things, my friends, putting a few things into the dishwasher. And once again, the shrimp stock is almost done. It just has a few more seconds of simmering to go, and then we'll strain it off and be done with it. It's all right? Well, is that all right, as in can I because I would like to talk about it and share it. So could I talk about it, I guess? That's what I would like to know. Yes? Okay, lovely. I will talk about it in just a second. But in the meantime, everybody, my shrimp stock is just about done. The timer is reading that it needs another 6 to 7 more seconds, or 1 second now that time has passed. Let's go ahead and shut off the heat. And I'm just gonna be keeping all of the shrimp stock in this pot to make my life a little bit easier. And in order to get it out, everybody, I will be using one of my favorite kitchen tools, the one and only spider. If you do not own a spider, you are making a big mistake. Spiders are amazing. They're basically a big strainer on a stick. You just get to easily get in there, scoop all of the stuff out that you do not want, or, you know, for pasta, for dumplings. I love my spider and I use it all the time. Okay, and we might need to also strain it out again because there might be like little bits that the spider can't catch. But everybody, if you don't have a spider, I highly recommend investing into one. Okay. Pop out all of those shells. They have been beautifully boiled. All of the flavor has been extracted. And yeah, everybody, shrimp stocks, they only need to take a few minutes. All of those, water-soluble compounds, they really quickly dissolve into the water. We don't need hours of extracting. We don't need hours of boiling. It's not a chicken stock. It's not a beef stock. Look how beautiful and golden my shrimp stock has become with just a little bit of simmering action. Okay. And I think I'm also just going to go ahead and grab a little strainer just to go ahead and get all the little pieces out. Although, I could probably just strain this into my final soup product, into my final stew, that is, and be done with it as well. And we also didn't salt it because we're just going to be salting the stew later on. It's going to be a lot easier to adjust for salt later on instead of just immediately adding it now. Okay, so all of that is done, my friends. That is our shrimp stock, nice and golden, nice and beautiful, really easy, super simple. All that we did, once again, shrimp shells, water, brought it up to a boil, 5 minutes, absolute maximum. Any more after those 5 minutes, and you will begin losing flavor. This isn't the same as a chicken stock. It's not the same as a beef stock. You don't need to boil it for hours on end. This is all of the cooking that it needs. We'll slap a lid on it, and then we will only need it once it is time for us to put it into the stew itself. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm gonna go ahead and have a little sip of water. And also, Cather Queen on the throne wish list bought a bunch of stuff. Cather Queen, guys, I am proud to say that we will soon have a Vitamix, we will soon have a Breville countertop convection oven, and we will soon have a Magimix food processor. Those were 3 pieces of equipment, very nice home consumer equipment. Vitamix, basically the best of blenders. Magimix is the best of home food processors, and a Breville countertop toaster oven. So, Cather Queen, thank you for quite literally sponsoring the stream. And I'm really gonna be excited to show off some of that equipment later on. Well, welcome on in, You're Just Dumb. I had to think about what your tag was for a second. Serena, you said, Chef, if you had to cook outdoors on a hot day, what would you make for a 20-person party? Cooking for 20 people is a lot. It's actually quite a bit difficult. I would actually minimize the amount of dishes that you decide to do. So I would do things that can easily be served to a crowd. So something like a nice big roast. That is always something that's like really special, especially if you have access to a grill, doing like a whole pork tenderloin. You can't go wrong with that. Something with a salad, something like a nice big pork tenderloin. Also, welcome on in, You're Just Dumb. It is lovely to have you. Okay, so all that we did so far was that we went ahead and we made the shrimp stock, and let's go ahead and inspect my shrimp that is currently marinating inside of the lime juice. You can see that we have all of these little white bits forming. That is essentially the shrimp cooking inside of the lime juice. The acidity causes it to turn white. It causes the proteins to sort of congeal a little bit, to constrict a little bit. And this is essentially how ceviche is made, except in an absolute pile of lime juice and not just one lime's worth of juice. So marinating it in the lime juice and the salt is gonna help make it nice and bouncy. It's gonna help make it nice and seasoned all the way through. And then of course the lime juice is gonna modify the texture. So let's go ahead and do some of the vegetable prep for my stew today. I'm gonna go ahead and take this lovely big pile. Look at all of my vegetables, my friends, okay? So yes, we're going to do the Brazilian shrimp coconut stew today, okay? It is called Moqueca, that's right, Moqueca de Camarão. Moqueca de Camarão. I don't know if I have anybody here who speaks Portuguese that could correct me on my pronunciation, but these 2 bits of zucchini won't actually go into the stew. I just wanted a separate sautéed zucchini side dish, and then everything else will be used towards the stew itself. You just made some grilled cheese, you burnt it because you left it for 10 minutes. Yeah, bread is one of those things, especially if you're frying it, you have to like babysit it because bread goes from beautifully toasted to charred very fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin some of the vegetable prep for today. We will begin with, what will we do? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just worry about these little guys for a little bit. Okay, awesome. So, bell peppers. Let's just go ahead and process them and break them down and get them ready to go for today. And I'll just be putting a couple of other things behind me in the meantime. We'll be putting everything onto this plate for ease of access. Okay, everybody, lovely. So, we need to go ahead and just process up some bell peppers. I have 1 orange bell pepper, and then I have 1 red bell pepper. So, why am I using orange and red ones? Just because they're a little bit pretty. Second of all, red, orange, yellow bell peppers, they tend to be the sweetest. Green bell peppers, by comparison, are not actually sweet. They're a lot more vegetal. And that is not a flavor that I want inside of my moqueca today. Okay, so I just want the sweetness from my red and orange bell pepper. And that's right, they are so colorful, they're so pretty, they're so beautiful, and I'm going to show you the best possible way to process and break down bell peppers, everybody. So, I do not like the technique of going in the cutting off the head and then pulling out the seeds. It's a little bit annoying. You still have to get the white part out of the bell pepper, okay? And it's a little bit clunky and not necessarily the most efficient. So let me teach you the optimal method. First thing that we have to check, is my bell pepper stable? It is awesome. Next, we will be shaving the sides of it. You see these folds? You see these folds? You see these folds? That is where the white spongy part of the bell pepper lies. And so all that we have to do, my friends, is take it and shave it. Take it, you see, we got some of the white part accidentally, we went too deep. Shave it off. Take it and shave it off. Beautiful. Take it and shave it off. There you go. And that way, my friends, we have all of these lovely little planks of bell pepper, and then we have the seeds that we can just go ahead and chuck. Now, what's really nice that you can do with that is to use it towards stalks. It has a little bit of aroma to offer, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So, let's do this again. Take it and shave it. Let's take it and shave it. Let's take it and shave it. And then I left a couple of pieces of flesh. Don't want to waste that. And then all of the core, my friends, all of the seeds, nice and easy, go ahead and throw them out. And I think truly that that is actually not the best bell pepper I've ever had, but really easy to do, really easy to process that way. Okay, so now, as for how do we actually want to cut these, this is not going to be a stew that's blended. I think I would like to blend it at some point in the future, but in the meantime, we're just going to be chopping this up, dicing it, and sautéing it. Chef, would you paint your hair? Asks Jack, and the answer is, I've already dyed my hair in the past. The reason why I don't like doing it is because it is way too much of a commitment and it's not permanent. I love permanent body mods. Like my tattoo, there is no upkeep other than the fact that I put on sunscreen when I go outside. My piercings, there is no upkeep anymore. The reason why I don't like dyeing my hair is because it's not a permanent body modification. So I've already done all the hair dyes that I've wanted to. Okay, so everybody, bell pepper, let's go ahead and just begin processing it really quickly. I'm gonna be just looking for, you know, a medium dice. It is my first time doing this dish. I don't necessarily know exactly how people like it to be cut, but I think I'm just gonna dice it, okay? I don't know what a sclera is, you just, okay, so all that we're going to do, we're going to start by taking the bell pepper, everybody, and cutting it into batons. Planks into batons. This is the plank, baton, 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 nice big generous slice, just like so. Baton, 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 lovely. And just keep going and repeat with all of our lovely bell peppers, my friends. Oh, the white part of the eyes, I've got to say most of them don't actually look that good. They're a little bit splotchy. Have I ever made mushroom soup? We sure have, especially on the stream. I think we did it very early on. But yeah, I love doing mushroom soups. Love them. Super delicious. Okay? Keep going, everybody. Just keep cutting it up into some nice little planks. And then we take the plank, stack them up, and dice it. Plank it or planks into batons, planks into batons. Awesome. Planks into batons. Should I send some? Well, I don't know. Well, you can go ahead and DM me on Twitter if you saw any cool ones. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. Why not? Okay, and so just don't, I wouldn't put that into the chat. Okay, so everybody, we're going to go ahead and take our batons. We're going to take them. Ooh, hello. I think that's one of my hairs that fell onto the cutting board. Okay, I think it's gone. Lovely. So here's all of my bell peppers, guys. We're going to take it from batons into a lovely medium dice. Okay, I think that's what I will be pursuing today. Nice little medium dice, Take it and stack it up and just dice it. It's a stew. It's a shrimp and vegetable stew. The more even that you end up cutting it, of course, the better and more even it's going to end up cooking. But also, if your knife cuts aren't perfect, it's not going to be the end of the world either. Everybody, do not overcrowd your cutting board. Look at how much space I have, or rather the lack thereof. Scoop it, get it onto a plate, and make your environment comfortable for yourself. I don't want you to just be stuck here, right, trying to navigate, trying to not dice something again accidentally. So clean up as you go. Okay, make sure that you have enough space for yourself and don't overload yourself. So, take the bell peppers, stack them up, and you know what time it is. It's time for a little dice, or rather, a medium dice. Medium dice, nice and easy, nothing too crazy once again. Take them, and onto the plate it goes. Another little pile. Take my batons, stack them up, until we're all done. So again, not the world's best knife cuts today, but also it's a stew. We're cooking at home. So it is okay if they don't all 100% cook evenly at exactly the same time. It'll all work out, that I can promise you. Okay? So keep it going. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? We just gotta prep. We gotta do a mise en place, right? We gotta do all the vegetable prep. I have Instagram, so it's just gonna be Daramgar on Instagram. You just I do have an Insta. Okay. And go through it. Also, how'd you find the cooking show if you don't follow me on Twitter? I'm just curious. Because people either find me from some of the raids that we've gotten, people have found me from YouTube, people mostly know me through like my Twitter, so I am curious how you found the cooking show. Okay. Dice that bad boy up. And one last pile of batons left to go. Take them, stack them up, and dice it. Dice it, dice it, dice it, till completion. Not gonna lie, I have no idea, I don't remember. Well, that's okay. I was just curious. So, everybody, all my bell peppers have been properly diced, and they will be sauteed alongside the onions. So, we're just gonna be chopping up the onions alongside with it, and it'll be perfect. I follow a bunch of cooking stuff, and you came up on my YouTube recommendations. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that you guys, I'm glad that all of you have naturally found me in some ways. That makes me feel pretty good. I am just also curious how people do stumble upon what we do here. My goal is to have the biggest cooking show on Twitch, and then just the biggest cooking show hands down, period. Okay? So, everybody, we're going to go ahead and just slice the head. We're going to decapitate the onion. We're going to decapitate it, slice off that head, and these onion heads are usually amazing for stock. I don't keep my vegetable scraps. I would love to get into a system for it, but that's okay. Wait, is the YouTube command defunct? Is exclamation mark YouTube not working? Wait, are my other commands working? Exclamation mark YouTube should function. Or rather, I don't know, we have a link to the YouTube though. It's all, we all have it. And the YouTube, guys, is not like any sort of specific content. It's just backed up VODs. Right, that's all that it is. So, we've sliced it in half, and now, because of the fact that we sliced it in half, we get to really easily peel it. The Instagram is just Daramgar, so you know how it says Daramgar TV? So just take off the TV portion. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and just get those little skins off. Also, everybody, we have like a slightly molded, whatever is going on here, part of the onion that we'll just go ahead and trim on off. No harm, no foul. And we're gonna be pursuing a very similar dice to what we did to the bell peppers. So, we're going to be doing the onion fan method. Basically, we'll be fanning out the onion. So, this is the root of the onion. This is where the head used to be. We're going to make a bunch of little incisions, parallel incisions, close to each other, but not all the way through. So, it's held together by the tip of it. And now, we can take our knife, run it through, and we get to go ahead and get a lovely dice. What is the story of my name? Oh, amazing question you just done. This is a lovely conversation. You're thinking of just Gengar? Well, that's actually not quite it. So, Daramgar was the random generated name that I got from playing World of Warcraft when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I loved WoW as a kid. I loved it. I played so much of it. Okay, Daramgar was a randomly generated tag, and I gotta say, the World of Warcraft generated tags, they go hard. They have a fantastic name generator. So I got Daramgar. Okay, and then afterwards, that became my username for everything. But I also have a very cute story that I'm segueing from this. That became the tag that I used on everything. And when I was around 15 or 16 years old, I started going to Smash events for the first time. Up until then, this was a handle that I only used online. Back when I was 15, 16 years old, I was still a guy before I transitioned. Right, so I went to Smash events. Nobody knew my now dead name. And people didn't want to pronounce Daramgar, so they just started calling me Dara instead. And then I liked being called Dara so much that I made it my name afterwards. I was like, wow, I wonder why that name feels so good. And so I've named myself essentially after my gamer tag. That is the story behind why I'm called Dara. As for Daramgar, the story is a lot less interesting. That's just purely because I got it from World of Warcraft. That's right. I sure am. Happy Pride Month, by the way, everybody. But yes. Yeah. I don't know. I love telling the story. I love the fact that I have like an origin. And that also like works out because Dara is apparently a Russian name. I'm Russian, I speak Russian, right? And so it just actually works out, right? It's kind of cute. You thought Gar came from Gengar? That's what everybody thinks. But the reality is that's just a red herring. They have absolutely no correlation whatsoever. So everybody, bell peppers and onion. You know what? We're gonna do one with onion because you can never have too much onion. Actually, no, I'm gonna take it back. Instead of using onion, I have a bunch of scallion here. Oh wait, is it any scallion whites? I sure do. Okay, lovely. We're gonna be using some scallions instead of my additional onion component. Wait, is this Trinity adjacent? So Serena, I'm not really particularly thinking about this in terms of a Trinity. I'm just thinking about this as a vegetable base for the stew. I don't really know if there is a specific Brazilian Trinity that is used. But in a lot of Latin American cooking in general, bell peppers are used as an aromatic base. I wouldn't say that this is like a sofrito per se. Did you also say Daramgar is now your real name? I plan on it. I plan on making my legal name Daramgar. The M, I just like abbreviating it that way, Daramgar. The M isn't short for anything. I want a middle name that is just one letter. That's what I want. Okay, so everybody, I have some scallion whites here, and so instead of taking another onion, these are already scallions that I had lying in my fridge. This is the beauty of cooking. This is the creativity of cooking. You do not need to necessarily always 100% follow a recipe and conventions if you know what it is that you're doing. The beauty of alliums is that they're so interchangeable. Leeks, onions, shallots, and scallions, my friends. So these greens, I will instead just mix them into the final product because they're a little bit more delicate. But the scallion whites, I'm just gonna chop them up like they're an onion. And they're gonna saute and they're still gonna be delicious. Okay? So just take them and I'm just gonna dice them, right? Or not really a dice, I'm just cutting them into these little rounds. Just like that. And that's gonna be our other allium component. That's okay. No, I understand that you meant nothing by it, so you're totally okay. Okay, so scallion in here. And so everybody, these are going to be the vegetables that get sauteed for the moqueca. That's right, like Monkey D. Luffy, right? It's the will of M. So everybody, I have my scallion whites, I have a whole onion, and then I have a red bell pepper and an orange bell pepper. And this is going to be the base of vegetables for the moqueca today. As well as, actually, there's a couple of things that I did neglect to go ahead and process as well. Everybody, I have these 2 spicy chilies. These are red spicy chilies here. I don't know the specific varietal. They're just sold as hot red chilies at my local supermarket. We want some spice. We want some flavor. We want some oomph. Everybody, do we want a bland stew? Do we want the bland moqueca? I want to hear a nice no, chef. Please and thank you. So 2 lovely spicy chilies. And I'm actually going to be using my petty knife for this because it's nice to have a knife that is sized for the thing that you're cutting. It makes everything so much easier. These bad boys, I'm actually going to be doing a very thin cut. And the reason why I'm doing a thin cut is because I don't want to bite into a massive chunk of chili. I want it to really break down. I want it to basically just contribute all of that heat, all of that spiciness towards the final stew itself. Okay? Also, yeah, we gotta say no chef and yes chef. And we're keeping all of the seeds in. We're keeping all of the seeds in because that is where all of the heat is. Okay? I want to bite into a big chunk of chili. Well, if you want to bite into a big chunk of chili, then chunk them up into big pieces, right? That is the beauty of cooking, guys. This is a stew. You get to choose the size of the pieces that you want. You get to choose, right, the texture that you want inside of your final product. In my case, I don't love biting into a massive chunk of a spicy chili in something, and thus I go ahead and give it a very, I would say like a thin slice all the way through. These are my chilies. The reason why I'm not adding it alongside the bell peppers because spicy chilies, they tend to burn easier. And so if we add them alongside the other vegetables, they're going to burn before those cook. Okay? So take that, put that behind us. Everybody, we have 2 lovely plum tomatoes. I'm gonna go ahead and put on some gloves because tomatoes are acidic and can damage my poor little eczema-ridden petite feminine hands. Chef with unprotected eczema-riddled hands. That's right, Serena, you got it. That is absolutely right. So, everybody, I got 2 plum tomatoes here. So, why am I using these tomatoes? Because this is what I had at home. The beauty of this dish is I had cilantro to use up. I had scallions to use up. I had tomatoes to use up. And that is the philosophy that I applied to cooking at home. Guys, you cannot always go out and buy a million different ingredients for the dish that you always want to make, and then at the end of the week, you're left with a lot of extra produce, extra perishable ingredients that you have to throw away. The point of cooking at home, the goal of cooking at home rather, is to find the intersection between what you want and what you have. And you have to find that middle ground. You don't want to throw away the things that you have. You don't want to waste them at the end of the week. You don't want to waste the money. I want to teach you guys how to save money. I want to teach you guys how to make the most out of what you have. I want to help you clean out your refrigerator. So, 2 plum tomatoes. That was my inspiration for today. All that I'm going to be doing, everybody, is slicing them in half lengthwise, all the way through the middle of it. And the reason why I cut them in half lengthwise is so that we can expose the core of it. 1 diagonal incision, 2 diagonal incisions, and off goes the woody core of my plum tomato. Incision, incision, off it goes. Nice and easy. Incision, incision, off it goes. Incision, incision, off it goes. Nice and easy, everybody. Get all of those little tomato cores out and out of the way. And now we're going to be doing a fairly small dice on the tomato. The tomato is going to break down. The tomato is going to cook. The tomato is going to become one with the stew. This is not a typically blended stew. So even though I would probably prefer to blend it, whenever I'm doing a new dish for the first time, I don't make a lot of modifications. So you asked me, have I ever had or made Jamaican oxtail stew? I have had oxtail so many times. I love oxtail. I've never actually made it though, because oxtail has gotten, here's what happens. Whenever there is a cut of meat that is considered an awful cheap cut, people make delicious foods with it in a lot of different cuisines, and then white people go, wait a second, I want to start using this too. The demand severely increases, and oxtail is now nowhere as cheap as it used to be. Oxtail used to be so cheap. The same thing happened with skirt steak and flank steak and hangry steak and bavette, and every piece of meat has now just been, for lack of a better word, I suppose, colonize it, right? They've just become essentially colonized. So, tomatoes, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get a nice small dice. And so in order to do so, nice sharp knife, fan it out. Fan out, Mr. Tomato. Fan him out, fan him out. There you go. And dice it, and dice it, and dice it, and dice it. There you go. Lovely. Yeah, even bones. That's right. Even stock bones. And so, that is why I always tell people, buy whole cuts of meat. Buy whole chickens. Don't go out of your way to buy separate chicken bones for your chicken stock. Buy a whole chicken and make a lovely stock out of the byproduct. Okay? So, is oxtail? Yes, it is essentially the tail. But the tail has a lot of meat. Okay, it's super collagen-y, right? Meaning it gets so sticky. It is an ideal cut for braising. It just has a bone running through it. So it's quite similar, I think, to like beef shank, except smaller and thinner. Yeah, skirt steak, terrible. Yep, skirt steak, $20 a pound. But guess what? My neighborhood, My local area, it's very Turkish. It's a very immigrant neighborhood. We have a very big like Russian population. We have a very big like, I forgot, is it like Uzbek or Uzbekistani? We have a very big Uzbek population, and we also have a very big Turkish population. In none of these cuisines is skirt steak considered like a very nice cut of meat. And so I go to my local Turkish butcher. I get skirt steak for $6.50 a pound. In the year 2024, I am buying skirt steak at $6.50 a pound. So I'm very happy about it. I'm not telling, anybody else that I'm, to go get skirt steak from my area, that is. And I will keep it a secret. It's my little secret, and I'm going to take good advantage of it. Okay? So everybody, I'm washing off my knife because I have a carbon steel knife, and if I leave it too wet or exposed to something too acidic for too long, it will end up rusting. And that is not what we want at all to take place here. So yeah, my biggest flex is that I'm able to get skirt steak at, $6.50 a pound. Absolutely unheard of. So yeah, oxtail, by the way, isn't necessarily just made from, I believe the ox is the male, right? I think it can be made from any cow, but it's just whatever cows typically go to slaughter. Typically speaking, it is my understanding that female cows are typically reserved for the dairy industry. Speaking of knives, Daramgar TV, what is the best way to sharpen them? So, dangerous mouse, that depends on your needs. Okay, that fundamentally depends on your needs, because if you have a really cheap, soft stainless steel knife, right, like something that was like $30 to $50, then you would be okay with a pull-through sharpener. But if you have very nice knives, you would benefit from learning how to use a whetstone. And I don't actually sharpen my own knives. I go get mine professionally sharpened. I would love to go take a knife sharpening class. I just haven't gotten around to it. I've had so much stuff going on lately. And guys, would you be interested in a knife sharpening stream? At some point or another, if I took a class and I learned how to do it properly, is that something that would be of any interest to anybody? Also, hi Banner2K, welcome on in. So everybody, my tomatoes, nice and diced. Normally we char them, normally we blend them in and stuff, but because we're just gonna be following all the different, whenever I do a new dish for the first time, I try to learn as much about it as possible, right? And so all the different dishes for Moqueca, the tomato was just diced and nothing more, okay? So, one lovely tomato, or two lovely plum tomatoes. These are all existing leftovers that I already had. And then everybody, we'll just go ahead and process the scallions. The scallion greens themselves, they don't need to cook for any long, significant amount of time, so they'll just get added towards the end of the cooking process, okay? So all that I'm going to do is just take it and cut them on a nice little angle so that we get these lovely big blades of scallions, my friends. Also, I don't think I said anything useful about oxes versus cows. I just said I think that oxes are male cows. Why angle? Really good question. It's because it just gives us a wider cut and it gives us something a little bit prettier. So veha, it's not super essential. It's not 100% necessary. Also, am I pronouncing your tag correctly? But it's purely because by cutting it on an angle, we just get some slightly longer pieces and it looks prettier. Okay? That's all. Nothing crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and take it, scoop it up, and put it onto a separate plate. Speaking of Turkish, have you tried dolma? I sure have. I love dolma. Love it. Absolutely delicious. Okay, and now everybody, last but not least, we're going to need to go ahead and process some garlic. So, as always, I hate chopping garlic. I think mincing garlic is a massive waste of time. It is sticky, your knife is a little bit too big for it, and you have to go through it with a lot of passes. I don't like this, salt the garlic method. Okay, none of that. All that we use, my friends, as always, is gonna be the handy dandy little garlic press. Okay, a garlic press, it does such quick, short work with it. Everybody should own a garlic press. If you do not own one, you are absolutely making a mistake, and this is your sign to go buy one now. So, garlic. Is that gonna be enough garlic for today? I don't think so. Let's go ahead and get a little bit more. Because everybody, you can never have too much garlic. And whenever your waste bowl gets full, we take it and dump it into the trash. Right? So much easier instead of just going back and forth to the trash can all the time. So, this is just 2 cloves here. I'm gonna try to go for a little bit more than that. I don't think I've actually tried a lot of different varieties of dolma in that case. You just, it sounds like I'm insulting you, by the way, to anybody that can't see the chat. But You know, that is just your tag. So you say you just grate the heck out of it. You could grate it as well. That is also a very valid, viable method. However, I still think that it's a little bit too slow and inefficient. I'm going to show you just how easy it is. Also, Asoybi, thank you so much for the 3-month sub. Wow, 3 months in advance rather. That's very sweet of you. So let's go ahead, let's just peel up all those garlic cloves. And everybody, you can never have too much garlic. I love super garlicky, super, super intense food, okay? I want it flavorful, I want it delicious. And so, because you're too stingy, well, in that case, I don't think I could really argue with that. They're not annoying to clean though. They're not annoying to clean because it's only annoying to clean if you let the garlic dry in the holes. All that you need, vegetable brush, poke, 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 as soon as you're done pressing it. It takes 5 seconds to clean. I promise you they're not annoying to clean in the slightest. So, no more excuses. Get a garlic press. Everybody, take your garlic and smash it down to separate the skin. Also, Dangerous Mouse, thank you for stopping by. It was lovely to have you here. I hope you have an excellent rest of your day, and thank you for the gift subs. Okay, you'll definitely let it dry, but here's what I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you exactly how we make sure that doesn't happen. And that's by cleaning it immediately. Everybody, I'm gonna get you all into the habit of a really, really good home kitchen workflow. We're gonna be cleaning stuff so that it doesn't dry immediately. We're going to make it so much easier at washing dishes. So, as always, before we begin cooking, my dishwasher, empty. My sink, empty. Make it as easy as possible for yourselves. Also, thank you, Soybly. Same to you. So everybody, why am I still squashing the garlic if I put them through the garlic press? Well, that's because this is the easiest way to go ahead and separate the skins. So as you can see, we've separated the skins from the cloves. We can now easily pluck them out. So easy. You don't need to mess around with it. You don't have to go at it with a knife. Just smack them, smash them down, and then you will get all of these lovely little garlic cloves. Nice and peeled, nice and ready to go, ready to be pressed. Okay, we're gonna have a delicious moqueca, my friends. I've had moqueca, like different like fish stews before, quite a few times in the past, but I've never had specifically moqueca de camarão before, which is just shrimp fish stew. Right, that's all that really, really means. Okay, this one's being a little bit stubborn at the moment. Come on, buddy, off you go. Thank you very much. Oh, Dara, you're not using gloves. You're gonna get garlicky fingers. It's fine. I have nobody in my life that I particularly need to impress at the moment. So all I'm doing, guys, is I'm going through it and I'm plucking it. I should try Iraqi dolma. It's made with squash, cabbage, eggplant, onions, and tomatoes. I see. I've never had Iraqi dolma, the only Turkish dolma. So, everybody, go ahead, take them, scoop them up, get them all out of here. And the last thing that we have to do, look at the amount of garlic, by the way, that I'm doing for one pot of stew. You don't have to use as much garlic as I do. Guys, I cannot get enough of garlic. I love garlic to death. I'm gonna be just slicing off the dried off butts because we don't want those butts in there. Butt out, buddy. Get them out of here. Take them off. Does this to you. Ugh. Oh no. Uh-oh. Okay, so ooh, I almost dropped that one. I almost dropped it. I didn't drop it. And last but not least, let's go ahead and trim off that butt. Awesome. But yeah, I've only had it with grape leaves though. I've never had a dolma made out of anything other than grape leaves. Okay, everybody, as always, one of my favorite kitchen tools, my little condiment cups. Look how cute they are. Look how easy it is to just hold small quantities of something. If you don't own condiment cups, I really recommend that you do so. Okay, they are so cheap, they're just so lovely to have. And then garlic press, garlic, smack it down. I don't have to teach you how to use this tool. It just makes quick, short work. And look how much faster this is than grating the garlic. Look how much time it is that you're saving. So I know that you said that you're stingy, right? You said that you don't own a garlic press because you're stingy, but it makes your job so much easier. Also, Mr. Blackstar, welcome on in. It is lovely to have you today. Welcome on in. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a beautiful day today. Take it and smack it down. Take it and press it into oblivion until we have nothing left except a bunch of perfectly pressed garlic. Also, I have to say, I am enjoying the heck out of today's stream. Today's like cozy. Today's nothing like too technical. Today's like a little bit new. And yet we're just going to end up with a lot of delicious food. So I'm definitely, I don't know, I'm just feeling pretty good about today's stream. Right? I feel like quite good for the camera today. Okay, there you go. And let's go ahead and get the rest of that out. We have processed all of it. Have I ever had sucuk? I have absolutely had sucuk. I love sucuk. Again, Turkish food is one of my favorite cuisines. I love sucuk. I love, especially Adana kebab. Adana kebab is my favorite. I love Turkish lentil soups above all else. Turkish lentil soups, they're so flavorful. They're so smooth. So delicious. So yeah, I've absolutely had it. Okay, there you go. Guess what? Everybody, done pressing garlic, wash the garlic press. So easy, so simple. Okay, so I was just asked, chef, in which case would slicing garlic be the only way? My answer is when you want pieces of garlic in something. So, guys, structure equals function. This is a phrase that I learned maybe in my, 10th grade biology class, but structure equals function. So, what am I trying to say here? The finer that you process garlic, the more pungent it's gonna end up being. If you've ever had a whole roasted garlic clove, you'll know that it doesn't have any of that pungency whatsoever, right? It's just purely sweet. But I want the full pungency of my garlic, so we process it through a garlic press. The more of the cells that you end up crushing, the more allicin you end up producing, and the more pungent your garlic clove is. But if you want a mild garlic flavor, if you don't want the pungency and you just want the sweetness, then you would just slice it. Or the less that you chop it before that you cook it, the less of the cells that you crush before you cook it, the less pungent it's going to end up being. So, if you want pieces of garlic that are sweet and not too pungent, then you would do sliced garlic. Chef, how's your life before garlic presses and condiment cups? A sad one, Shy Chica. It was sad. Also, you said, what else did you like? I love Turkish lentil soup. I love tabbouleh. Right, tabbouleh is also really, really lovely. I mean, I love kibe as well. I love Adana kebab. Adana kebab might be my favorite Turkish meat dish. Yeah, that one is absolutely fantastic. And then also Turkish food and the million different meatballs that Turkish food has. The million different kinds of kifte, right? Adana kebab. Also, Ark317, welcome on in. It's lovely to have you. So guys, 2 chilies here. No, not doner kebab, Adana kebab. Adana, that's right. Yes. So not doner, Adana. So guys, garlic cloves for the pungency, scallions to be added in towards the end, and then of course we also have some really, really lovely chilies here for the heat. Okay. Okay, there is actually one last thing that we need to prep, and that is going to be the rest of my cilantro. Guys, cilantro and fresh herbs, when you buy them, you can only buy them in really, really huge bundles. I'm going to teach you how to keep your herbs fresh. So I have a question for all of you. How many times have you bought herbs for one dish, and then at the end of the week, you're left with a whole bunch of herbs after you use just a few leaves, with just wilted, sad, spoiled cilantro, and you have to throw it away? How often has that happened to all of you? Okay? It doesn't need to be this way. Things do not need to be this way, my friends. Okay? And so I want to teach you guys how to keep your herbs nice and fresh for the longest period of time. So here's what I do. Veha, you can freeze them chopped, although I will say you lose so much flavor that way. Here's what we do. Paper towel, Tupperware, just like so. This keeps a little bit of the humidity inside, but it makes it not too moist and not too dry. If it's too dry, they turn yellow and wilt, and if it's too wet, they turn brown and wilt. By putting it in a container with some paper towel, it lasts for over a week sometimes. Okay, and so we'll be actually chopping up and sautéing the stems inside of the stew today. I don't like to finish with the stems because, again, the stems don't have the best texture, but by properly frying them and really finely dicing them, we get to really mitigate that texture. So I'm going to be separating the leaves from the stems, my friends, and just go through it. Separate the leaves from the stems, and we just got to pluck them. Ooh, okay, we actually have some of this, which is so annoying to pluck. Yeah, plucking the leaves off these little guys, I'm not even gonna bother with them. Get them out of here. We only want full, proper, real cilantro leaves. I forgot what those are. I don't know if those are like the early growths of the cilantro. I forgot what makes them be that way. Okay, and so we're just plucking. We're just plucking. And yes, I'm so lucky that I have like a local Turkish market and butcher shop. It is excellent. I'm able to get sucuk. I'm able to get so many different dairy products. I'm able to get so many different kinds of lentils. Yes, this is the usual content. Plagued by Society, how'd you find the cooking show? Yes, so we do all, this isn't even a cooking stream. This is a full-on proper cooking show. My goal is to teach all of you how to cook at home, and so I want you to ask me any and all questions that you have. But yeah, this is purely nothing but a food show. Yeah, I mean, I think that most that can be said about like a lot of Middle Eastern cuisine. You just well, there isn't exactly a lot of very harsh divide. Right? There isn't like, oh, this is what makes this thing explicitly Turkish style. This is what makes this explicitly Lebanese style, right? For the Middle Eastern and a lot of Arabic food, there is so much overlap. Okay? There is so much overlap that there is just, like, there is no lines necessarily drawn. In fact, lines being drawn, you know, in terms of like a country's borders, it's almost exclusively a political construct, right? You don't think about food as being divided into separate lines. You think about food as being divided as like a gradient. And the most exciting thing, guys, this is a food concept that I love talking about. Seeing the gradient in food is one of the most culturally exciting concepts, and I'm gonna explain to all of you why. So, you all know like this basic idea that, oh, in French cuisine you use butter and in Italian cuisine you use olive oil, right? I'm sure you guys like, maybe you've not explicitly heard that, but there's like that sort of stereotype that exists, right? And so, basically, a really cool thing is, the closer that you get to Italy in France, the more that you see olive oil actually being used. So the south of France has an entire region, I believe, that does produce its own olive oil, and that is a cuisine that is based on olive oil and not butter as its base cooking fat. There is so much stuff that is unexplored in the world of food where people think, oh, Italian food uses olive oil, this and that, right? But going to that place and seeing, like getting as close to the border as possible and seeing how the food changes when you get closer and closer to other countries is such a cool concept. It is so exciting. It is so fun. And that is the part about food that really excites me. The ideas and the notions that we have about what comprises a certain cuisine is biased because it is limited to our current exposure of it. For example, I live in New York. Our Chinese food is only Chinese immigrants from a certain place. The American Italian food here is purely from the Neapolitan and Sicilian immigrants. But there is so much more to Italy and there is so much more to China. But we don't actually see it fully represented because it wasn't in the immigrant groups that came here. And so as a result, there is so much more to these cuisines than some people think there is. Do I like general history too? Only when it really pertains to food. I only like history as it pertains to like my special interests. So otherwise, I mean, I would say I don't really care that much just because I love studying it specifically in the context of food, right? Yeah, and then just like seeing like historically, like what happens when groups of people from this place interact with this place, what happens when they're forced to adapt to certain ingredients, right? There's just so much to study. What are my other interests? I mean, music theory, right? I play. I'm trying to write music one day. Food, music, esports. Otherwise, I have a lot of like smaller interests, but those are like the really big ones. Food is a lot of different interests. It's cooking, it's eating, it's food history. I love everything about food. Okay, so in the meantime, we have officially plucked all of my cilantro leaves. The cilantro leaves I'm not actually gonna slice now because the more that you process them in advance, the sooner they'll spoil. So if I slice them now immediately, they'll just really turn wilted and lose a lot of their texture. So I'm gonna put them back in my Tupperware and we'll come back to this. Do I play any instruments? I sure do. I play the Ewe. The Ewe is a big MIDI wind instrument, right? It's basically like a big, well, it's basically like a big MIDI electronic wind instrument, and you can do saxophones, you can do trumpets, you can do any synth sounds that you want as well. Am I streaming from Brazil too? No, I am not. This is my first time doing Brazilian food ever, actually. Okay, so instead of just throwing away these cilantro stems, everybody, we're just gonna go ahead and slice them up. We're gonna just take them, stack them up a little bit, and we're gonna get a nice fine dice out of it. I don't really want to do any big dices because I don't want to get any chunks of cilantro stem. Yes, I would love to do some more Brazilian food, trust me. I really want to get into Brazilian food, except the only issue is finding the cassava flour is a little bit difficult in my area. And so I only want to make food that is accessible to me. because I'm trying to teach you guys how to cook at home. I want to cook food that is found in my local supermarkets. I want to buy ingredients in my local supermarkets, okay? And so, if it's a little bit too difficult for me to find, I will either find a way to substitute it or I won't cook it. Guys, that is what it means to cook at home. Unless you really want to cook as a novelty, unless you have a reason that you have to make something 100% authentic, you have to adapt to your circumstances. If you can't find a certain ingredient, adapt and overcome, okay? And so EWI is just spelled EWI. It is an acronym for electric wind instrument, but colloquially it's called an EWI. And so I'm just gonna go back through this. I just don't want any massive pieces of the cilantro stems. So I'm just gonna really dice it up. Chef, do I like jazz? I like jazz fusion, school of rock and roll. Granted, I will say I don't actually know as much about it as much as I would like to, but I do quite like chick corea. What chef has influenced me the most as a chef, asks Jack. So, I've had different bits of influence over the course of my life. Some of these people that were once influenced me, that I would say, they did an important thing for me, and then I very quickly outgrew them. One of my first culinary influences were all of the really mediocre cooks over at Food Network, right? I would like watch Giada and stuff when I was a kid and I didn't really know better, and I would get inspired by it, right? And then I would say like what actually formed the way that I cook now. On a technical level, I would say J. Kenji Lopez Alt. He really was the one that got me first into asking questions about food. Now, I will say, I always made good tasting food, but I never think I made fantastic food up until the point I was 17 or 18 years old. And that's because up until then, I cooked to impress people. I cooked in a very selfish way. I never really cooked with any meaning or intention. And so, I think then, afterwards, when I started applying a lot of different culinary philosophies, optimizing home cooking, elevating home cooking, minimizing waste, adapting to my local ingredients, adapting to what I have, I think that is when I became a fantastic cook, but I don't actually know who was the direct influence in me developing that philosophy. Brothers Green and Guga. Brothers Green I used to watch quite a bit 10 years ago, and Guga is content. Guga is content. Guga I watch whenever I feel like I want to get some content. So, everybody, let's do a bit of a recap session really quickly, okay? So what do we have here? These are going to be some of the aromatic components of my lovely moqueca. Okay, some red chilies for the heat. We have some cilantro stems because we already have it and it's gonna make it nice and aromatic. We have a bunch of garlic cloves for the pungency, and then we have some nice fresh scallion greens, which we'll be finishing it off with. Okay, next, we have all of this good stuff, my friends. We have onions, and then we also have some red and orange bell peppers, and then we also made our own homemade shrimp stock for the moqueca, okay? And that is just gonna make it really nice and aromatic and flavorful. And in my fridge is my shrimp sitting with the lime juice and some salt. Does anybody have any questions for me? I believe that we will actually begin the sautéing stage of the moqueca. If everybody is ready, I wanna hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. I'm gonna have a little sip of water. Listen, Guga, there was a time when Guga used to make content with integrity, and then he realized how much money he could end up making, okay? So that's really all I have to say about Guga. Okay, so really quickly, everybody, we are talking about adapting things to a local environment, and we're talking about making things easy for us to do. Traditionally in Brazilian cooking, especially for the moqueca, but also for a lot of other dishes, you would use red palm oil. Red palm oil, red palm fat is really commonly used in Brazil, as well as in a lot of African cooking. I don't have access to red palm oil. Okay, I don't have it. I don't have an easy way to go ahead and buy it anywhere, okay? And so I'm not going to be using it. Instead, I already have a very delicious cooking fat. I have a bunch of ghee. I'm not gonna go out of my way to a supermarket that would carry red palm oil super far out of my way, because this is home food. So is this the most traditional moqueca because I'm not using red palm oil? No, but I'm still using ghee. Ghee is clarified butter where the milk solids have been a little bit toasted. It's a little bit nutty and it's really delicious. And that's crazy that red palm oil is so expensive because it is so cheap to produce. It's just that palm oil is typically like bought up by like a lot of it's just so cheap, and so a lot of factories use it, and it's very unsustainable. Chef, what are the shows you used to love, and what is your favorite show? Are you asking me cooking shows or shows in general, Jack? Because I have two very different answers depending on what you get, depending on what you specify this as. So I have some ghee. You don't have to use ghee. Guys, just use whatever delicious, flavorful fat that you have on hand. You could probably even use olive oil. Maybe somebody in Brazil would get a little bit upset at you, but use whatever fat you have good access to. Okay, so I'm gonna go in with a bunch, and I do mean a bunch of ghee. So, everybody, I'm gonna teach you how to master stainless steel. There will be no sticking, there will be no squelching, but we're going to start off with a bunch of this delicious, flavorful fat, my friends. So just scraping it out of the jar, getting ghee out of the container is so difficult. So in general, my favorite shows, Jack, I would say, oh man, my favorite anime right now, I gotta say, is Nichijou. I watched Nichijou and I was perfect. Otherwise, I really liked Hunter x Hunter and I also really liked Cyberpunk. As for shows in general, I really loved Breaking Bad. I loved Breaking Bad so much. I think I've seen Breaking Bad through the first, I've seen it like 6 times all the way through. A tiny drop of oil will prevent burning? Well, not quite, Veha. So we will get plenty of, we have enough oil in here for sure, but more so I want to teach people how to properly use stainless steel. Because most people, guys, I have a question for you actually. How many of you have grown up in households where the majority of the cookware was exclusively non-stick, where almost all of it was just like Teflon pans? I'm just curious. Right? Because when I was growing up, we had a couple of stainless steel pots that we mostly used for soups, but we had almost exclusively Teflon. Also, I have seen Mr. Robot. I love Mr. Robot. Okay, so guys, Teflon got really popular as a pan material. Non-stick pans got really popular. Why? Because people think it's accessible, people think it's easier, and people think it's cheaper. Here's the reality of it. Non-stick pans aren't actually as cheap as you think they are. Because here's the thing, the coating and the non-stick property of it, it gets damaged over time. It gets damaged, it becomes sticky over time, and you have to replace it. These pans will last a lifetime. And so everybody, the number one mistake that people make with stainless steel is they blast the heat and they heat it up on high. The key to a properly non-stick effect on your stainless steel is to heat it up slowly. If you take the heat and you blast it, you develop hot spots and cool spots. And then if you want to get it evenly heated, the pan is going to be super overheated at that point. In order to get it to be beautifully evenly heated, my friends, low, medium heat, I need to hear yes, chef, please and thank you. Okay? Oh wow, your parents were in the everything in a jello mode generation? Whoa, that is old. That is, I see. Yeah, I think, well, granted, there is a Russian dish, right, called holodets. I believe the English word for that would be aspic, right, which is just gelatinous, super gelatinous broth, and has like chunks of vegetables in it. And so, you know, that was always like at family functions, and I hate it. I do not like holodets, not even one bit. Not even one bit. Not my thing, not for me. Yes, oh, you just absolutely. Non-stick woks should not exist fundamentally. They make no sense. The only reason woks, you have to be like blasting it with heat and you're always mixing it so things don't burn on them. Non-stick woks should never exist. Terrible. Okie dokie. So, everybody, once again, medium-low heat. We never take this, we never blast it with heat. We want to be so gentle with this. If you take this and you blast it with heat, you will have hot spots and you will have cool spots. The goal is to get it to be evenly heated, okay? And then we'll be sauteing the vegetables. Everybody, sauteing the vegetables is going to take time and you cannot rush it. I'm going to say this again. Sauteing the vegetables is innately going to take up a lot of time and you cannot rush it. So, do you know how many recipes out there say, oh, saute this for 2-3 minutes on high heat and then add all of your other stuff? It is absolutely nonsense and you're wasting your time, and I'm going to explain to you why. Look at these vegetables. I want you to look at my vegetables for a second. The majority of the content in these things is water. If your goal is to get beautifully golden vegetables that are nice and sauteed, nice and sweet, and develop flavor on them, you need to saute them for a considerable amount of time. 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get a nice deep golden brown, my friends. If you were just to put it in there for 5 minutes, it's just going to release water and it's going to be sweating. In order to get it to be golden, everybody, it's a 3-stage cooking process. First, you collapse it. You heat it up enough that you break it down and it releases its liquid. The second stage is the evaporation stage. That water evaporates, and then once the water is mostly evaporated, we enter the browning stage. And only in the lack of presence of water can we properly, beautifully brown my vegetables. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it's going to take some patience. But you cannot rush this step. You could just boil everything if you wanted to, right? But this idea of just sauteing something for 2 minutes, it does nothing. So again, just slowly heating it up, just slowly letting it do its thing, okay? And then once it's heated up, we'll begin sauteing it, and we're going to be doing some of the other prep food today. What is my favorite animal? That's a good question, Jack. I don't actually particularly like living animals that much. Well, that implies that I like them dead, which, you know, we are cooking with shrimp today, but I don't think I particularly enjoy the fact that I don't like animals very much, I think. I don't think there's ever been an animal that I particularly resonate with. There's only Pokemon that I resonate with, right? Like, I love Gengar, I love Absol, I love Zoroark, but I don't really like, I don't know, just, Pokemon designs are cooler. I wish real-life animals had as cool of designs as they did in Pokemon, right? So animals, get it together, guys. Get it together. Get real. Get serious. So I'm not a dog-cat person, that's right. I never really want to own a pet. I don't particularly want to own a living thing. I have a lot of things going on. And so I'm very project-oriented. I love the jobs that I have. And so I don't really particularly dream of taking care of a pet. So that's not to say that I dislike animals or anything. I just, there's never been an animal that I've like, oh, this is me. This is my animal, you know? What about Pokemon that are copies of real animals? The further they are away from real-life animals, the cooler they are to me, the more fantasy-like they are, right? So I don't particularly like them because they're animal-like. Have I seen a tawny frogmouth bird? They legitimately look animated. I'll look it up at some point. I'll go and take a look. Okay, everybody, so my ghee, my pan has been slowly but surely heating up. Okay, it has been heating up. It is now nice and hot, but we don't need it to be smoking hot. Medium, low heat. If your heat is too high for these vegetables, you will scorch the outside before the water got released. Guys, you don't brown it in the beginning. I'm going to say it again. You don't brown it in the beginning stages. You will brown it after it releases its liquid, after the water evaporates. So don't even worry about browning your vegetables. Now, all that we did, medium-low heat, heated up the pan. I'm adding in all of my veggies, all of them inside, all of them in, all of them in. I dropped a few onto the ground, I know. Pulling it from a plate is a little bit challenging. And guys, I know how overcrowded it looks, but I promise you, we will still get a beautiful sauté. Because once we collapse the texture of it, they will lose so much volume. So, guys, follow my school of thought. Listen to what I am telling you. Do not rush this process to get a real golden brown, to develop flavor, right? The rule of thumb in cooking is the more that you brown it, right, color equals flavor. The more that you brown it, the more that you saute it, the more flavor you develop. So do not rush this. I need a yes chef right now, please and thank you. That's right, this is the jacuzzi stage. We're steaming it, right? We're gonna steam it before we go ahead and just get in there a little bit more aggressively. So, vegetables. Next, big pinch of salt. Why? Well, not only does this help to pull out some liquid, we need to talk about a concept called seasoning in layers. So what is seasoning in layers, my friends? Basically, if you have chunks of vegetables in a stew, if you added the same, let's say you added all of the salt throughout the dish, and then you added all of the salt at the end. If you tasted the stew at the end of the dish, it would be so salty, but then the vegetables would be bland. By seasoning the vegetables absorb the salt because they have still water inside of it. They absorb the salt, they're nicely evenly seasoned, and then you don't get bland bites of vegetables. So that is the importance of seasoning in layers. This doesn't matter if you're blending it, this doesn't matter if it's homogeneous, but because this is a stew with chunks, we need to season it. Okay, would you say it's bad to do in an oven? You would get roasted vegetables. The effect isn't exactly the same, but it is similar. So would I say it's bad? No, but I would say that it's just a little bit different. So everybody, come take a look. My vegetables, they have the salt on them. I'm mixing the salt around, and Even though it seems counterintuitive, I'm gonna go ahead and slap a lid on it. Why am I putting a lid on it if the goal is to evaporate the liquid? Well, in order to evaporate the liquid, we first have to get the liquid out of the vegetables. By putting a lid on, we develop a bunch of steam. We increase the heat inside of the pan itself. The vegetables will begin steaming and then they'll collapse. So by giving it a bit of a head start with the lid on, all that we end up accomplishing, my friends, is that we just reach that collapsation stage super quickly. Okay. Excellent. Great. So let's go ahead and also work on my zucchini and my squash in the meantime as well. Also, everybody, once again, if you haven't checked out my Patreon, please do so. !Patreon. My goal is to one day be able to do this show full time. I would love to continue to teach people how to cook at home. That is my goal. And so any and all support there would be really, really appreciated. Okay? So once again, !Patreon, or you can go ahead and scroll down into the About section. And really important, by the way, I should clarify, the Patreon doesn't really give you anything. The Patreon doesn't get you anything. A lot of other creators, they have Patreons that sort of have recipes or special videos behind them, but I don't do that. The reason why I don't do that is because I firmly believe that information that is easily reproducible, text, video, broadcasts, etc., that should be free. It costs nothing to reproduce it, okay? And so, my goal is ultimately for the most amount of people to get access to this information, and so the Patreon is purely if you have the means to do so. It does get a private Discord, that is the only thing that you get, but there's nothing that is paywalled, and even then there is a public community Discord as well too, So also VCC TV, welcome on in. Everybody, the steaming stage is ongoing. Also, you just, thank you for stopping by. It was lovely to have you here nonetheless. Okay, my veggies are steaming, and I want you to look at all of the water that is accumulated on the pan. And everybody, this is where we need to get into the music of cooking. I'm gonna teach you how to know whether or not we're sautéing. It's all in the sound. So I'm gonna do something uncharacteristic. I'm gonna shut up for a second. I need you to listen. You hear how it's not a sizzle. It's not a high-pitched sound. It's a lower-end bubbling sound. It's a psh, and it's not a ps. The sound of cooking is so important because if we know that it's doing this bubbling noise, that it's this mid-end psh sound, that this is not going to burn, that's how we know we're in the evaporation stage. We can also inspect it. If the liquid looks cloudy and not clear, look at the liquid. Look at the liquid. You see how it's opaque. You see how it's yellow and orange. That is all of the liquid from the vegetables. We would know if it was fat, if it was clear, and if it was golden. Okay? Also, you just, if it was too unrelated, I wouldn't entertain it. So you're doing okay. No reason to worry about it at all. So, everybody, I'm teaching you what? I'm teaching you how to understand what we're doing. I'm teaching you how to know whether or not we're cooking in water or we're cooking in fat. I want to build you all that intuitive understanding like I have built up. Okay? Because it is so important in food to understand what you're doing, to understand why you're doing it, and to know all of the different sensory elements, the smell, the sound, and the visuals. Okay? I want to build all of that intuition for you, my friends. And this is something that I've built on my own over time. I ask myself questions. How do I know if it's doing this thing and not that thing? Right? By asking questions, by being super introspective about this, by just like asking even the most of minutia, right? That is how you learn how to cook. I'm not teaching you a recipe. This isn't a recipe. I'm teaching you technique and I'm explaining to you why we do certain things. Okay? So I just wanted to clarify that. And everybody, while that is going, we're going to be washing up some rice for today. So I have here some lovely rice. This is just some plain old Japanese sushi rice. Okay, and the reason why I'm using sushi rice for today is because I'm actually going to be doing basically a Turkish rice dish. We're doing a Turkish rice dish that typically uses something called baldo rice. Baldo rice is a type of short grain rice. I don't have baldo rice, but I do have sushi rice. Guys, once again, the cool thing about cooking is so many things are interchangeable. There is so few hard set rules. In general, short grain rices are very interchangeable for each other. So while I don't have baldo rice, I do have access to this lovely sushi rice instead, and that's what we'll be using for it. This rice we're going to need to wash out beautifully because we want to go ahead and get rid of any excess starch on it, because otherwise it would end up being a little bit too gloopy. So I'm going to grab a bowl and we're going to wash some rice. Right? You guys know how to do this. I've already talked to you about this a million different times. I will need to step off camera because for this process, for this step, I don't actually have a sync camera. And so I'm never measuring out rice, by the way. I'm only going purely by vibe, purely by feel. That is the amount of rice that I'll be preparing, maybe a little bit more for today. Right? Purely by feel. Okay? And I think that should be good. And so everybody, we're going to go ahead and wash our rice. Once again, we wash it. Why? To get rid of any excess starch that could result in a rice that is way too gloopy for my purposes. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just really, really quickly mix my vegetables and listen to how the sound is changing. It is beginning to sizzle. And that sizzle is how you know we're sautéing and no longer just evaporating liquid. So taking my veggies, flipping them over a little bit, making sure that nothing is stuck to the sides of my pan. Okay, and while that is going, once again, everybody, medium heat. It is not a race. I will be washing up my rice. This is a really, really good time to ask me any and all cooking questions because I will be stepping off frame. I'll be doing something repetitive. So it can be about this. It can be about something else. It can be a completely unrelated question as well. I'll be taking chat with me. So don't worry. I can still see you guys. And there you go. So, Asoibly, you asked me, can you explain, also Everly, welcome on in. You asked me, how is Japanese rice different? Well, I don't know if there's actually a specific varietal that is called Japanese rice, but I'm specifically using sushi rice today, which is a short grain rice. The reason why certain types of rice might be different is, first of all, they have different concentrations of different pectins. A very extreme example of this is something called sticky rice. Sticky rice has a lot of a certain kind of pectin that gives it that gumminess, that gives it that stickiness, that makes it almost sort of glutinous, right? There's also like glutinous rice. So that's one thing. Short grain rices tend to have certain starches and pectins that long grain rices have much smaller concentrations of. And that's basically every single rice variety. Their shape is different and they have different concentrations of different starches and pectins, and those starches and pectins gel up differently. And they also have slightly different aromas. So guys, I'm just going through my sushi rice. I'm washing it really, really good, cold water, agitating it with my fingers. Also, how's my day going? Shy Chica, I have to say, a little bit uneventful. I woke up, did a couple of chores, and now we're doing the cooking show. Got ready for that? This is, by the way, to do a cooking stream, it is a full day's worth of work. I go and do the shopping, I clean out my kitchen, I set up the stream, I set up the studio every single time. So, this is just a full work day for me, you know? So taking my rice, everybody, and washing it, and washing it, and washing it. So, what is going on with the second channel? Really good question, Everly. We have to move away from Daramgar because I made that Twitch account just before I turned 13. Because of COPPA violations and COPPA policy, it doesn't actually let me become a Twitch partner on that account because it was made before I was 13. I had to make an entirely new account just to have a chance at Twitch partner, which is stupid and dumb, and it makes me so upset. But we're gonna push through. It was a bit of a road, it was a bit of a bump, it was a bit of an obstacle, but I am determined to still make this work, guys. I want to get Twitch partner. I'm really serious about pursuing this. And so that's why we're going through this other channel. So, once again, I'm thoroughly washing the rice. You're back mid-game. Hi, Yujistum. Well, welcome back. But yeah, that channel was made like 9 years ago. Can I recommend you another cooking channel I think you'd like? Absolutely, please and thank you. If it's on Twitch, I might know him. If it's on YouTube, trust me, I have been watching YouTube food content for such a long time. I've been watching YouTube food content for years. Everybody, let's check on my veggies. You hear that sizzle? That's how you know when sautéing. I told you, right? I didn't let you down. I didn't let you down. I knew that it was going to happen, and so you just had to trust me and be along with me for the ride. So I'm going to go ahead and strain out the rice, everybody, and this is really, really important, and we'll talk about why in just a second. That's right, we're hustling, we're grinding. Okay. That's right, Jack. I'll never let you guys down. I'll never disappoint you all. Okay, my rice bag says do not rinse enriched. Tools light. The ingredient containers say a lot of things that also don't really mean anything at all. So look at my veggies. Look at my vegetables, my friends. Look at it. Look how they're now beautifully sautéing. You see that we're developing some fond on the bottom. This is all of the dissolved sugars that have come out of the vegetables. Okay, some of the, well, there's no proteins really, but it's just mostly sugar and starches. So take it and scrape it up, scrape it up, scrape it up. Make sure that the fond doesn't burn. Scrape it up and incorporate it back into the vegetables. Nice low medium heat, and we are now beginning to properly saute. We're gonna get these things golden. We're gonna get them delicious. Okay? So everybody come take a look. I wanna show you all this, okay? We really need to strain the rice, and I'm going to explain to you why. If we leave the rice, even with just like a little bit of extra water, inside of a bowl until we're ready to cook with it, what's going to end up happening is it's going to absorb the water. This rice, I want it to cook in chicken stock. I want to cook it exclusively inside of chicken stock because I want it to get all of that flavor. I don't want it to absorb any unnecessary bland liquid, and so we're straining it out. Secondly, this rice, we will be toasting it. We'll be frying it in some oil. We'll be frying it in some oil, and then subsequently it's going to get nice and golden brown. If we don't strain out all of the liquid from it, we're going to get rice that never actually properly fries. Okay? And that, for this specific thing that I'm trying to do here, I think is actually quite important. So my vegetables are nicely sautéing. This is straining. And everybody, this is what cooking is. Cooking, so much of it is about moisture management. You're either taking away moisture, adding moisture, or preserving moisture. That is one of the biggest fundamentals that you will learn. In the process, of sautéing vegetables, we try to remove it by evaporation. In the process of this rice, we need the water to wash it. But we don't add all of the water in the beginning because the water will stop the rice from frying and toasting. So all that cooking really is at the end of the day is heat control and moisture control. That is all that it really is. So that's going, that's straining. This is going to strain until we're ready to use it, everybody. So keep it on a nice bowl, keep it straining, keep it doing its own thing here. And now my vegetables are beautifully sautéing. Let's go take a look back at the stove. They're going to get nice and golden. We have so much incredible color beginning to develop, my friends. Okay, and we're not necessarily looking for crunchy vegetables in today's stew. This is a stew. They're supposed to be nice and tender, nice and delicious. All right, so just take it, move it back around. Scrape up the bottom if anything is sticking. And we're just going to get these nice and golden brown, my friends. Okay, let's also go ahead and prepare the zucchini for today. We're going to go ahead and just chop that up a little bit. Also, too, what will christen the Vitamix? Is it pronounced Christian it or christen it? I don't know how to say that word. I don't know yet. I guess we'll find out. We'll figure it out sometime soon. Okay, so that's going. That's just gently sautéing at the moment. Move it around. And again, now that there is no liquid, of course, there is a risk for things to burn. So medium heat and stirring it fairly often, but not so often that we're just cooling down the pan and stopping any browning from taking place whatsoever. So that's going. That looks wonderful. The scallions, the onions, the bell pepper, and we're making the most out of all the leftovers that we have. We are using all the leftovers. I had leftover scallions. I had leftover cilantro. I had leftover tomatoes. And instead of throwing them away, we're using them in today's moqueca. We're using them into today's stew. And it's all going to be lovely and delicious and aromatic. And so in the meantime, everybody, let's go ahead and just get my zucchini ready. Now, I'm not doing anything crazy with the zucchini. We'll literally just be searing it. We'll be getting it nice and crunchy. I just wanted a vegetable dish because truthfully, this would have just been nothing but like shrimp and stew and rice. So I just wanted something, that wasn't that all the time. So I have a gray squash and a zucchini. Generally speaking, summer squash, gray squash, zucchini, all of them are interchangeable. They're functionally the same thing. That's not the same as kabocha squash. It's not the same as spaghetti squash. But these soft squashes are just really, really easy and really quick to saute. Okay? So they're all mostly interchangeable. And thus, you can do whatever you want with them. You can buy whichever variety suits you the best. And so now, let's go ahead and decide what is the kind of slice that I want on these bad boys. I don't actually want to do like a fine dice because I'm not looking for these things to turn into mush. I want nice, good chunks, but I also don't want them to have to fry on multiple sides. I want to just be able to flip these little guys. Okay, so we're going to chop them accordingly. We will be getting rid of the head and the tail, slice it through, awesome. We'll be getting rid of the head and the tail, slice it all the way through. And so let's go ahead and decide. I think coins are boring and a little bit inconvenient to eat, okay? So I don't really like just doing a coin. We'll figure out a better way to cut it up. Ooh, and guys, my veggies are getting nice and beautifully golden brown at this stage. They're looking fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just figure out, you know, I think like sticks. Those would be like a very nice cut to do for these bad boys. So let's just take it and cut it down this way. Okay, and now that we've cut it down lengthwise, the cut that I'm gonna be going for, let's just do something like this, I think, honestly. I want something chunky still, okay? I don't want it to be so long that it's inconvenient to eat. So these are gonna be the pieces. They're gonna cook on two sides, just these two to get them nice and really, really caramelized, okay? And let's just repeat the same thing with this bad boy. And I don't like having massive chunks of zucchini still, just because it can be a little inconvenient to eat. So this is gonna be my ideal cut for today. And by the way, guys, when it comes to actually slicing zucchini and squash, so on and so forth, it's good to do it not too far in advance because then they start leaching out liquid. They look like they're almost sweating once you do that, okay? And that's gonna make it a little bit more difficult to get a good sear on it. So let's do that with the second one. 1 and 2. Slice it in half lengthwise and slice it into these lovely batons. And the length of it ultimately doesn't matter. This is gonna be a super simple dish, everybody. We don't have to overthink it. It's just gonna be some sauteed zucchini, okay? Nothing crazy, nothing fancy, nothing anybody can't do. This is a dish that anybody can do. Anybody can cook. So all my zucchini for today ready to go. That is all the prep that we're going to need from them. And now, everybody, we can proceed to the next stage of sauteing. My vegetables are now appropriately golden brown. We've developed all of that fond on the bottom of the pot, and that is where all of the flavor is. So, what is the order of operations? I need to hear yes, chef. I need to make sure that I have all of your attention. Here is the ingredients that need to get added. Tomatoes, chilies, garlic, cilantro stems, and scallions. However, if I add tomatoes now, tomatoes are wet. Tomatoes are gonna stop the sauteing process. So we know that we don't add the tomatoes until the end. If I add the garlic and cilantro, it's gonna burn. So we don't add that until later on. The chilies are the ones that need the most amount of time compared to the other things that I have laid out. So, in goes my lovely red chilies. And we're also going to give these guys a little proper saute. Okay? So just get them in there, mix them around, mix them around, mix them around, scrape up the bottom, and we're gonna get these bad boys nice and slightly fried. Again, we don't add the red chilies in the beginning because they would otherwise burn. Also, welcome in Dr. Slowbro, it's lovely to have you. And also, that was not enough yes chefs. If you've already said it, you don't have to say it again. But if you didn't, you gotta do it, or else I'm gonna kill you. Am I allowed to threaten you on Twitch? It doesn't matter. So, I didn't mean that literally, please don't ban me. Okay, everybody, my chilies are nicely sauteing. They're also getting really delicious and really golden brown at the moment. And so now we're gonna be going in with the cilantro stems. Let's go in with all of them, tap them in there, chunk them in. And so this is just gonna make it a little bit more aromatic. It's gonna make it really nice and delicious. And we don't have to throw away any of the cilantro stems. We'll just saute them, we'll fry them in a little bit of the oil. And now if we give this a nice little smell at the moment, it smells pretty wonderful, I have to say. Dara has to start a third channel. Oh God. Oh, the idea of that is so tragic. Never mind, I'm never threatening you guys again, I promise. I won't do it. I take it back. Please. Okay, that's all going. That all looks really beautiful. That all looks really, really lovely at the moment. Chef on Discord, where can we post fan art of me? Are people making fan art of me, Jack? Jack, is it fan art or is it AI generated fan art? I've got an AI generated fan art a few times. That stuff's always weird. So not that, please, if it's that. Okay, cilantro stems nicely and beautifully sauteing. And now everybody, last but not least, the garlic before the wet ingredients. Okay? So in it goes all of the garlic. Why do we add the garlic now? Because if we added it sooner, we would have risked burning the garlic. So break it up, keep it moving, keep it stirring, and we're gonna get that garlic nicely fried, nicely infused into all of that fat. Get it nice and aromatic, my friends. Still toasted up, not just plain old boiled garlic for today. And once we add the tomatoes, because of how wet the tomatoes are, they're gonna deglaze the pan, and then we're going to essentially be starting to build a sauce inside of this pot. We'll add in the shrimp stock, and it'll all be fantastic. Okay, sauteing the garlic, sauteing it still letting it go, still letting it do its thing for a little bit longer. But you don't want to cook the garlic too much, because if garlic burns, it turns so bitter. Okay? Guys, I can't wait for my full cooking show one day. I'm gonna have a full studio set up one day in the future. Oh, it's gonna be wonderful. This is just the beginning. 10 years from now, this is gonna be a full cooking show. I want you all to watch. Okay? I want you all just to watch and be there for when it happens. Okay? So, garlic is in. Garlic is properly sauteed. In goes my tomatoes. Ooh, that rhymed a little bit. In goes the tomatoes, everybody. And this is where the tomatoes essentially deglaze the pan. What is deglazing? There's stuck sugars and stuck proteins that were once part of liquid that then evaporated. By adding in another wet ingredient, specifically in this case being the tomatoes, we let the proteins, we let the sugars dissolve back into all of that existing liquid. Okay? So we go into the sides and we scrape it up. We basically smush the tomato around. We smush it around, just like so. And in goes, because the tomatoes, they don't need to saute. We don't need to brown the tomatoes. In goes all of my lovely shrimp stock, my friends. Gonna be adding it now. Where's my little tiny baby strainer? Did I already put it into the dishwasher? Is that where it went? Okay, I'm still gonna need it for one more thing, which is just pouring my shrimp stock through it, just to make sure that I have none of those shells in there. There's a couple of small bits. Lovely. And it all went, and now this just has to cook. And that's right, I'm not just cooking, right? And the goal is to teach people how to understand food. So take a look at this lovely pot that we have here. Chilies, bell pepper, onion, garlic, and tomato, as well as some cilantro stems. It's aromatic, it's delicious, but this bad boy's gotta get nice and thick. By cooking it down, by breaking down the vegetables, the onions and the tomatoes, it's going to begin to form a bit more of a stew consistency. If you don't like the texture of tomatoes, assortably, blend it. Blend the tomatoes if you don't like the texture of it. And then it will become a tomato sauce. So you can absolutely go ahead and do that. And if somebody says, oh, you must chop the tomatoes, just blend it. And then it will be fantastic and it will be wonderful. Okay, gorgeous. And now, guys, I'm gonna take a second to just clean up my station. Also, Jack, I have no idea what you asked me. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. Okay, everybody, we're cooking at home, so you know what that means. We clean as we go, right? Because we don't want to end up with a big pile of dishes by the end of our cooking session, okay? So I'm taking a second. I see that, hey, I'm already done with these. I know I'm not going to need to use this bowl again or anything. So I'm going to just take it, toss it, and just get it all out of sight and out of mind. It is so much easier to do this incrementally during your passive time. Don't go on your phone. Don't go sit down on the couch during your passive time. Learn how to manage and master your passive time. Learn how to clean up as you go, and then you will be so organized, you will be so put together, you'll be so professional. You can put it in media show, I suppose, Jack. I think that would work. Okay, and so, yeah, master this, my friends. Master it. And then cooking is going to become so much less of a chore. Dishes are one of the biggest reasons why people say they don't cook at home. I hate doing the dishes. As therapeutic as I find it sometimes to just be in the kitchen by myself doing dishes, it is a chore still at the end of the day. And I'm trying to teach you guys how to make doing dishes as least painful as possible. Okay? Dishes don't have to be super annoying. You can make it easier. I'm going to teach you how to improve your quality of life. Okay? So, what do we have at the moment? My shrimp is marinating in the fridge with some lime juice and some salt. We have my zucchinis chopped up. Inside of my pot is my homemade shrimp stock. This is my tomatoes. This is my onions, my bell pepper, my cilantro stems, my garlic, and my spicy chilies. There's not a crazy amount of spices going into this. This is just a very good stew with like really fresh produce. Okay. I inspired you to cook, to clean. Excuse me, Asobli, you said that I inspired you to clean up while playing the stream. I'm glad that I was able to help out. Okay, so what else do we actually need to do? We have to begin talking about the rice itself. So here's what we're going to do for the rice. This is a Turkish rice dish. I forgot the exact name of it, but this is a rice dish that whenever I go out for Turkish food, I absolutely love it, okay? It is essentially rice that is cooked inside of a chicken stock, but it is so buttery, and it is so fatty, and it is so delicious. So how do we achieve like that really creamy rice, my friends? We're going to be sautéing the rice, as well as sautéing some orzo. So let's talk about my ingredients really quickly. One more time, and then separately I'm just going to have my pot boiling away while we do work on that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my homemade chicken stock, and once again, I had leftover chicken stock. I wanted to go ahead and make the most out of it, and so instead of just waiting for it to go bad, I'm going to use it for this dish today. This isn't the most traditional thing to go alongside moqueca, right? This isn't traditional for moqueca, but it still is going to be delicious nonetheless. It's a rice dish with butter and orzo. There is no strong flavors, there is no spices that are dissonant in this. This is just still going to be delicious, even if it's not the traditional rice to be served with it. So, I have some orzo. I love mixing pasta with a little bit of pasta with some rice. It just makes for such a fun and amazing texture. And then everybody in here, I have some delicious homemade chicken stock, okay? Look at this thing. This is all of the fat that has risen to the top and congealed. And we don't actually want any of the chicken fat. We'll be taking it off and discarding it. And so, I'll go ahead and do that right now. Normally the chicken fat, so lovely, so delicious. But in the case of my rice, I purely want that buttery flavor. And look how jiggly it is. Sorry. Look how jiggly it is. Look how gelatinous it is, my friends. That is how you know that you have a beautiful chicken stock. That is how you know it is made with integrity and love. This isn't boxed chicken stock. This isn't powdered bouillon. This is the real deal. That cloudiness, this is beautifully gelatinous, fantastic, and delicious. This is not an old school lunch tin. This is just a stainless steel pot because I didn't actually have any containers small enough or big enough, excuse me, to strain this out in. This is very New York City construction worker. So, that is such a specific vibe that you're evoking here. So let's get all of this fat out. This fat I have no use for. It's okay if there's a few little bits of fat, right? And then I'm just going to be heating this up slightly because it's difficult to judge the amount of broth that we have when it's all cold and congealed. Because the amount of liquid that we add to the rice, of course, it is so important. It is so essential that we keep that in mind. I'll just be taking it and heating it up enough for it to melt, but not enough to per se, boil it. Okay? So, everybody, orzo, sushi rice, any short grain rice, you can use arborio. Traditionally, you would use baldo rice for this dish. And we're just going to be swapping over the stoves for a second here. Oh, excuse me. So let's go back to the stove. So everybody, we're going to have to say goodbye to our lovely friend here for a little bit of time. We're going to just let this stew for about 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to let the tomato break down. We're going to let some of the liquid evaporate. And we're going to get this thing nice and delicious. So this bad boy, I'm going to be transferring it over here. And then this is going to be the pot that is used for the rice. Everybody, you might notice something. Daramgar is using Teflon. Daramgar is using non-stick. I never said that you should never use non-stick. Never, never, never. However, there is a reason why I'm using non-stick, and I'm going to explain to you why. I love using non-stick for rice dishes. And that's because I don't actually want the bottom of my rice to be too crispy. The issue is with using stainless steel or anything like carbon steel cast iron to just make plain boiled rice, it makes the bottom of it too crusty and it dries it out. Because of the fact that this is non-stick, it basically just lets you, it just mitigates how dry the bottom is going to be. When something is sticky, things are going to stick and they're going to get crispy and they're going to burn. Okay? When it's a non-stick, we just really, really significantly decrease the likelihood of that happening. So, everybody, Teflon pan, nice nonstick pan, and I want a big chunk of butter. Like, you see that big thing of butter? That is a non-negligible amount of butter going inside of this thing, okay? And nice medium low heat, everybody. You don't want to burn the butter. We're not looking to make a ghee. We're not looking to brown the butter or anything. Just a bunch of butter going inside. I'm going to be stirring up my stew in the meantime, making sure that that all is just coming together and looks lovely. And it does indeed look fantastic. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get my butter nicely melted in. And I mean a bunch of butter, my friends. I want it to be just delicious. I want it to be fatty. I want it to have some serious, serious flavor going on with it, okay? So, butter, all of it goes in. Guys, fat is your friend. Don't worry about the amount of butter, okay? At the end of the day, we're trying to make something delicious here. If it's too caloric, then just eat a little bit less. People are so afraid of butter. People are so afraid of fat when they cook. Do not be. It is okay for something to be a little less a little more calorie dense. Just eat a slightly smaller portion, and because of the fact that it has more fat, it's going to be more filling and satiate you longer. Embrace fat. Do not be afraid of fat, my friends. So, butter, all of it melted, and then we're going to need a few spoons of orzo. Has the oil drop technique to prevent butter burning? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking me. So, this is not an orzo dish. This is a this isn't a pasta dish. This is a rice dish. We're only going to need just a few spoons of orzo into the butter. Right? Maybe 1, 2 more. There we go. And I think that should be lovely. Because again, at the end of the day, it's still supposed to be majority rice. And take it and fry it. And this is a technique, my friends. If you've ever made fideo, if you've ever made like a, any sort of like Latin American soup with pasta in it and you fry it, you get so much flavor. We're toasting the pasta, my friends. We're toasting it and we're developing so much flavor as a result. So nice low heat, everybody. Nice low heat, and the butter is going to foam up a little bit. It's foaming up once the water has, of course, started evaporating. But yeah, frying the pasta. Some of you guys that have only cooked Italian food, right? You might be like, oh, this is weird. Why are we toasting the pasta? Trust me, you get so much extra flavor developed in this stage. And you get to have a little bit more granular separation. What you essentially happen is, instead of it all being like super like tight and everything being like a big, big, big cluster of starch, it's all going to help just keep everything nice and separate, okay? So, we're frying the pasta and all of this butter fat. Again, low heat. Do not burn the fat. Especially if you're in like a black Teflon pan, don't burn it. Nice low medium heat, my friends. Low heat, in fact, at this stage as well. You can easily scorch your butter. I'm not looking to make browned butter here. That is not at all my intention, okay? My stew is simmering away. I'm just going to move it around to make sure nothing is burning. It looks lovely. It's beginning to thicken as the vegetables begin collapsing inside of the stew itself. Okay? And I'm just stirring up my pasta. Stir it up, stir it up. Keep it frying. Keep it going. And then we're also going to add in all of my lovely rice. All of my rice going in. Oh, I dropped a few granules. That is totally okay. And let's fry the rice. And I mean fry it. You want to toast it until the rice becomes translucent. We're not just looking for white granules of rice. By getting it nice and golden, we develop that toasted flavor and we get to have a little bit more granular separation. So fry that rice, my friends, for the next few minutes. Fry it and toast it and fry it. Almost like we're making a risotto. The process for this is really similar to risotto. Okay, so you can use fideo for this. You could just use Orzo. Also, Duolingo, hi. It's lovely to have you. Howdy, howdy. We're also going to do a big pinch of salt. It is so much easier to season the rice before you add in the liquid component, because then the liquid component makes all of the salt stick to just one place. So, big pinches of salt going inside, making sure that it's nice and seasoned, and just stir it around, my friends. We are toasting the rice. We're frying the rice. And this is why we had to strain out all of that liquid. The stock itself doesn't have any salt in it, G-Spent. The stock is bland, the rice is bland, the pasta is bland, so we need all of that salt to be able to compensate for that. I promise you, almost, you need a good amount of salt in there to be nice and seasoned. So, keep it frying, guys. We're going to keep frying it until it's nice and translucent. And once again, why am I using Teflon? Why do I encourage you to use nonstick for this? Once we do get to the boiling stage, I don't want the bottom of the rice to become crusty at all. Okay? On a stainless steel pan, on a cast iron, any other metal, the rice dries out and scorches and gets crispy on the bottom. Normally, I love it, but for this specific rice dish, I do not desire it even one bit. So keep it frying, keep it toasting, my friends. There we go. Looking lovely. Gonna give my stew a little stir as well. Yeah, I'm basically making like a pilaf, right? Which again, not super traditional to have within Brazilian food with at least this dish, right? Normally you'd serve like a white rice, but I had chicken stock that I wanted to use, and I really, really wanted to make this Turkish rice. It's just so delicious. And again, it doesn't have any like strong Turkish flavors in there, right? There's not gonna be anything that tastes too dissonant. So it's gonna go together. It's butter and rice. Butter rice. Lovely. Also, yes, of course, wooden spoon. Never use a metal spoon. Never, never, never on a Teflon pan. Because you'll scratch and damage the coating and you will get flakes of Teflon. And then you will launch a right-wing conspiracy about how that's decreasing the testosterone in men. Or actually use a metal spoon if you're trans. Fam. Anyways. Keep stirring it. Yes, PFAs in your food are bad, so don't use a metal tool. Don't consume Teflon flakes, okay? Although that would make for a fantastic cereal. Teflon flakes. You eat it with, not milk, but vegetable oil. Yummy. I feel the estrogen in me building up. Okay, fry the rice. Fry it and toast those granules, my friends. Fry it and fry it and fry it until they're all nice and golden, until they're all nice and translucent. And this is how we really, truly just build so much flavor. And this is what actually makes it different from regular boiled rice. Okay. With canola oil, specifically seed oil. Teflon flakes only to be eaten with seed oil. Okay. So, everybody, I believe that my rice has properly toasted. It's aromatic, it's fragrant, it's looking delicious. We have the Orzo in there nicely distributed. So, we'll be shutting off the heat on this pot. We're going to be leveling the rice. And in goes my delicious, my homemade, my gorgeous chicken stock, everybody. And we're going to do only just a little bit above the level of the rice itself. Do not add in too much. We're not measuring the amount of liquid. I'm gonna teach you how to feel for it. So ready? So in goes my nicely just heated up chicken stock until the point that it has like just mostly melted down. In it goes. And don't add too much. Less is more, especially in the beginning. So add in those ladles. Just see how much rice that is relative to that amount of chicken stock. And all that I'm looking for is just a couple of millimeters. Just a few millimeters of liquid above the amount of rice itself. And I'm going to do a drop of moisture extra right on top. And that way, it's going to be granular and separated. Is everybody excited to see this rice? It's going to be golden. It's going to be delicious. It's going to be aromatic. And so now she's got to go get up to a boil, drop to a simmer, and then we put a lid on and cook it for 20 minutes. Really easy, really, really simple, okay? So take it, bring it up to a boil, drop to a simmer, and once again, typically short grain rice, 20 minutes. If it's a long grain rice, 18 minutes or so, but do not stir it. You can stir it all you want while we're frying it, but do not stir it when it's wet. If you stir it when it's wet, what's going to end up happening is it's going to turn into mush. You agitate it, you're going to get a big starchy clump. And my friends, we are not looking for a starchy clump, not even one bit. It is boiling. Drop the heat to a low. Do not go past the low heat because otherwise you will scorch the bottom of your rice. Tight lid on. I'm going to go ahead and just switch the pots around, hopefully with one hand if I can do it. I surely did. Awesome. This is going to go back here. And this goes onto the lowest possible heat for 18 minutes. There we go. Lovely. So everybody, what have we done so far? The rice itself just needs 18 minutes, or 20 minutes, excuse me. Should have set the timer to 20. to cook. We toasted the orzo, we toasted the rice itself, we fried it in a bunch of butter, and then inside of this pot, we sauteed onions, we sauteed bell peppers, okay? We sauteed some cilantro, some garlic, some spicy chilies, some tomato as well, and we made our own homemade shrimp stock. And all of that is inside, all of that is just hanging out now. Oh, I think we'll use this later on to just scoop out the stew itself. Let's go ahead and just stir the stew around. Let's stir it around. Let's see how it's doing. And you can see that it is thickening ever so slightly. That thickening is from what? The starchiness of the tomatoes. As the vegetables collapse, as the onion collapses, we're building viscosity slowly but surely. Okay? Slowly but surely, viscosity is being accumulated. And so what is actually left for us to do for the stew? Well, once this does get to a consistency that we would like, we're going to add in coconut milk. The coconut milk is going to thicken as well, and then we'll be adding in the shrimp. The shrimp is the last addition. The shrimp, we're not attacking it with heat. We'll be gently poaching it. Not in boiling liquid, not in hot liquid, but just below hot so that it's evenly cooked through, so that the shrimp isn't overcooked, so that the shrimp isn't too chewy or anything, okay? I had to Google what simmer is. Tools light. If you have any questions like that, ask me. I can give you an answer better than Google on top of that. I'd be happy to help you. My goal is to teach people how to cook at home, so please take advantage of this while you have the moment. Chef, what is your cooking? Hear me out. Jack, I have a lot of hot takes, but I don't even have a hear me out because I just strongly believe in everything that I say. So, you know, my biggest cooking hear me out was that I hated bow tie pasta. Google. I see, Shy Chico. Yeah, that was not a fantastic pun. That wasn't good. I'm sorry to say. Okay, so I'm gonna take a second just to put a few things away, and I will also now be sampling. I wanna taste my liquid. I wanna see how flavorful it is. I'm tasting for sweetness. I'm seeing if my tomatoes are too acidic or anything, okay? So I'm going to just go in there. I'm just gonna get some of that lovely liquid. That shrimp broth has been infused with tomato. That is yummy. Oh, that's so yummy. Salt. It's going to need a little bit more salt. The rice itself will be quite seasoned, so it's not too important for this to be crazy salted. The sweetness of the tomatoes is coming through. It's not super acidic. I think that this is actually going to be perfect for me to add in some coconut milk now. Ooh, guys, and that shrimp broth, let me tell you, that thing is shrimp in it. That is yummy. That is absolutely delicious. Okay. That is the initial broth of the shrimp shells. Correct, Veha. Absolutely it is. Okay, so I have an entire can of coconut milk. This is just some Goya coconut milk here. Open it up and get the whole thing out, my friends. All of it will be going in. I'm going to go ahead and just open that over my sink in case I get any spillage at all. And coconut milk going in. Whoa, that is a lumpy coconut milk. Hopefully, with a little bit of cooking, it won't be so lumpy. So just stir it in, my friends, a little bit of heat. And now this coconut milk has to boil, but it came in already somewhat curdled. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I think with a little bit of heat, with a little bit of cooking, with a little bit of extra moisture, hopefully it shouldn't stay too curdled. Although, should I have shaken my... Uh-oh. Guys, I don't think I've had coconut milk be that curdled before. Should I have like aggressively shaken it before I added it or something? Oh boy. Well, I suppose we'll find out. So I'm going to try my best to at least try to like mash out some of the little curdled bits of coconut milk to the sides. Whoa. It's just the fat separated from the liquid. Yeah, that happens, right? Things curdle, things split sometimes. So we bring it up to a boil, we drop it to a simmer, and we let this cook, and we let some of the water evaporate. And once that happens, my friends, the coconut milk, hopefully, is going to be an agent of thickening. Is going to help make sure that it is nice and rich and viscous. I think mixing it in should be okay. All right, well, we'll figure it out. I don't actually cook with coconut milk all that often. I'm sorry for my lapse of knowledge. I'm sorry for seeming so ignorant about this. I actually just haven't cooked with coconut milk in quite some time, so I have completely forgotten. So mixing it in should be okay. Just usually when things curdle in a kitchen, it's all annoying. Okay. It might have solidified because it's cold. Well, we'll see. We will see. That is the most curdled coconut milk I've ever seen. So we'll see what happens. Worst case, well, worst case, we'll just suffer. We'll suffer, and there will be no hope for us to come back from this one. It'll be great. It'll be lovely. I'm sure it will be. Does chef like cooking with dry ranch powder? Not really. I mean, like, I understand, like, all of the virtues and, like, how nice dry ranch powder is for some things. But it's just not really my style of cooking. It's very Americana for me. And that's not necessarily what I'm always looking for. Okay, and I'll get my cilantro out because we'll be slicing it for a little bit. But I don't think it's spoiled, G-Spent. It's more so just the texture of it itself that was a little bit problematic. But I do think it should be okay. It should be all right. We'll figure it out, my friends. We'll heat it through. We'll boil it down a little bit. And it'll be great. Oh, I splashed a little bit on me. That is okay. I think it's getting there. I'm pretty sure it is, at least. There you go. Lovely. Anything in the final dish you don't add so much sauce? So veha, yeah, I'm gonna be trying to like cook this down until it's like quite thickened, because I'm not really looking for it to be so loose, that is, right? But the moqueca right now, my friends, it has come up to a boil. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be lovely, it's gonna be delicious. Oh, Jack, my least favorite Pokemon, a Pokemon that I hate, Swoobat. I hate Swoobat. I think Swoobat is dumb and looks dumb. Swoobat is just about as dumb as he looks. So, not very happy with that. Okay. Great. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for me in the meantime? Things are chilling out now. We're just taking a little step back, right? We're just chilling out a little bit. No. I'm sorry. I don't love Swoobat. I apologize for speaking the truth. I apologize for saying what was on everybody's minds. Okay? There you go. That is all beginning to form, my friends. That is all looking lovely and delicious. Let's go ahead and have another little taste of it. I want to see what the flavors are like now. Yeah, no, Swoobat, definitely not it. Oh, that is just a bunch of the coconut fat that's risen to the top. It's really delicious. However, I will say the coconut milk has significantly diluted it. And so, we need to go ahead and evaporate some of this excess liquid, my friends. Because otherwise, this is just going to be too liquidy. We want some viscosity to the sauce. We want it to be able to coat the shrimp. Okay, so don't add salt now. We're going to lose a lot of the liquid. We're going to evaporate a lot of it. Okay, we're going to make it nice and thick and delicious. But if we add salt now, we won't have a very accurate picture of how much salt is going to be in the liquid later on. So let all of the bland coconut milk, let it evaporate. It's going to do its thing. It's going to be incredible. Just let it go. Awesome. Okay. Hi. So in the meantime, the only other real thing that we need to do, we got to saute the zucchini, of course. And then let's also go ahead and get some cilantro ready for today. So these were all the cilantro leaves that we picked out last time around, if you guys remember. And so we'll just get a nice, really, really fine slice on them, and then that will be added into the moqueca. Okay? So get all of them out, all of them onto my little cutting board. Excellent. And I'll just go ahead and do away with this container. Get it out of here, into the dishwasher. And so, everybody, the only thing that we need to do with these bad boys is to gently slice them. Don't crush them. Don't chop them. We'll be taking a nice sharp knife and be gently running it through them. I'm going back in to just stir up the stew. And yeah, it does seem like the coconut milk is doing the thing that I needed it to do, which is just to thicken, and we're not seeing it curdle nearly as much anymore. So, everybody, I think things are going to be A-okay. Everything is all going to just end up working out. Okay, sweet. So, cilantro. All that we're going to need to do, once again, is just to really, really slice it up, my friends. The difference between a slice and a chop is incredible. This is a chop, vertical motion. You end up crushing a lot of cells. Instead, my friends, we slice it. We use the full length of the knife. We crush as few cells as possible. Nothing is going to oxidize. Nothing is going to turn brown. So take your herbs, roll them up, and get a nice, fine slice. Slice it, slice it, slice it, slice it all the way through. Nice and thin. Excellent. That's right, everybody, the baby bird. This little guy, he's got to get sliced. And we're going to do one more pass through, and not too much more past that. One super secret emote, as in like the baby bird emote Duolingo. Still working on it. I had to like take a little pause off of that for a second, just because I had so much like other stuff, so much bigger fish to fry. And this is all going to get added alongside my scallions, so I'll just scoop it up and put it onto the separate plate. Oh, nice. Okay. Let's go back to the stove. Oh, that's not the stove. This is the stove. Okay, this is a lot better of a texture for the stew today, my friends. That looks a lot more like it should at the moment. Okay, it's nice and golden. Look at that color, nice and orangey. Actually, I will say, I don't know a lot about Moqueca Camarão. I forgot how to say it for a second. I don't know much about this Brazilian coconut shrimp stew. What is the viscosity that I'm looking for? What is the level of thickening that I'm looking to reach here? Is it a stew? Is it a soup? Because honestly, I've seen it be kind of all over the place. And if it's all over the place, then we'll use our own discretion in deciding how thick we even want this thing to begin with. So I'm just curious, I guess, if there's any people that, had this dish before, of like what their past like texture experiences would look like. Is what I'm really asking for. It's usually thick and creamy. I see. So, you know what that means? We gotta boil it down. We gotta cook it down. We gotta cook it down until it's nice and thick and creamy. In which case, yeah, because that's a little bit too runny. I want to serve it with some really nice rice. I want it to be thick. I want it to have some viscosity to it. So, thank you for helping me out with this. Jack, we'll do the baby bird thing in a little bit. I did it so much that I got kind of tired of it. And so, we'll do it again at some point or another, okay? So, everybody, rice is going. The rice has about 8 minutes left on it. The stew itself is going. The only other component that needs to get done is for us to saute the vegetables, which I suppose that we could actually just do while this boils on a separate burner. And then we'll finish off the stew with the shrimp and the scallions and the cilantro. Well, Jack, I'm glad that you like it, but we'll come back to it. We will, I promise. It'll just happen one day, okay? And so in the meantime, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a couple of things and throw them into my dishwasher while I have a second of time to do so. Excellent. Yeah. The stew is going, my friends. It's going to get thick. Oh, it's building that viscosity now. It's going to get creamy. It's going to become rich and delicious and flavorful. And again, this is what I keep saying. This is why I keep saying, rather, moisture management is one of the most important concepts that you can learn in food. Moisture management is everything. Okay? Because at the end of the day, moisture is what dictates the viscosity of something. The more water it has, the looser it's going to be. The less water it has, the thicker it's going to be. So now we're trying to remove all the moisture that we've added, but we have all of the solids, we have all of the flavors concentrating from the shrimp stock, from the coconut milk. So in it all goes. It's just doing its thing. Ooh, that now has some texture to it. That now has some mouthfeel. Lovely. And I have to check on a little notification really quickly, so please forgive me. Okay. So, Chef, in the future, will we see more seafood streams? Jack, that depends. Like, I love working with frozen shrimp, but the reason why I'm not going to be able to work with a variety of fish ever is because a variety of fish, like the really, really like nice fish, it's so expensive, Jack. It's so expensive. It's so unsustainable. And so will there ever be a lot of seafood streams? No, there will be mostly just shrimp. Every now and then we'll do salmon. Okay? I hope that answers your question. Okay, so everybody, all that I'm waiting for again, I'm waiting for this stove to open up whenever my rice is done. Whenever the rice is done, I'm gonna show you exactly how beautiful it looks. Is everybody ready for that? I'd love to hear another yes, chef, please, and thank you. And I'm just stirring this bad boy along, stirring it along, whipping it up. We're letting the tomato work. We're letting the coconut milk work. We're letting this thing get nice and thick with a little bit of time. Yeah, there's not all that much to really do at the moment, right? We're just waiting for this to be done, and once it is, we'll do the vegetable sautéing. And that's gonna be simple. That's just gonna be salt and pepper on those bad boys. Oh, I'm feeling that flavor coming through now. I'm feeling the intensity of that coconut milk. Wow, lovely. Yeah. The rice has about 5 more minutes left on it. In the meantime, I don't think there's really anything else to chop or prep other than the fact that we're just going to need some more butter for the rice. If you guys didn't think that was enough butter before, we're going to add more. Because by finishing it with a little bit of fat, that's how you get to be like really silky and really separated. It's a really lovely thing that I like doing sometimes. Okay? Or a really fun thing that I do is sometimes for my rice bowls, after the rice is done cooking, right, I open the lid, I put in some lauganma or like some chili oil, and then I mix it in, and then I let it sit and steam for another 5 minutes. It somewhat soaks it up. It has a real silkiness to it. It gets so delicious. So I think that's what I'm going to do with my, rice dish here. There we go. And I'm just stirring it up again, just to mostly get rid of any little lumps, anything that could be forming on the sides of the pot. Stirring it up, stirring it up. Even though stirring it this often can actually really damage its ability to actually heat up in time. Of course, it wouldn't be a dog stream without a delivery in the middle of it. So that was my doorbell. Please excuse me for the embarrassing ringtone on the doorbell. And yeah, it's still going. It's still stewing down. That's right, pizza. That is what I got. You got me. Yep, I got some pizza because that's what I'm secretly eating. I don't eat my own food, guys. I just get pizza after every single stream. Oh yeah, that is now building some viscosity. And you can tell how much viscosity it's getting because the bubbles, they look like they're struggling to burst the surface, right? If it's very easily boiling and nothing is really like splashing as it boils, that's how you know it's so thin. But you can see the bubbles are struggling to break through the surface tension of the pot. So yeah, keep it going. Keep it going, keep letting it do its own thing, and it'll all come together, my friends. Oh, Jack, pizza is absolutely not a home dish for me. Not at all. Not in the slightest. Okay. Keep it going, everybody. You can see how viscous it's becoming. You can see how rich and creamy it's becoming. Okay? Since I'm cooking something nice tomorrow for my birthday, also, happy birthday day early. Elemental computing, I'm just sitting here with some pizza today. I see. Okay, so today you're just keeping it easy. Tomorrow, what are you making tomorrow? I'd love to know what you're doing. For my birthday, I always do a little bit of steak for myself. I'm literally rolling out pizza dough right now. Yeah, I'm motorbike down. I gotta say, rolling out dough's such a big headache at home to do sometimes. Okay, it's all coming together, my friends. Slowly, but surely. Let's have a little taste. Ooh, guys, that is good. That is so simple. That is so delicious. That is so wonderful. But we need it to get thick. Also, I have some incredible news. My rice is now fully finished, and I want to finish this rice, and I want to show you how delicious it is. Is everybody ready for the rice reveal? I want to hear a nice resounding yes, chef, please, and thank you. Come look at the rice. Come look at my rice. That rice should be granular and separated, perfectly done. You can see how silky it is. Ooh, we got some crispy bits on the bottom. I'm okay with that. That is not a problem for me at all. But guys, this rice, I don't think it actually needs any additional butter. It smells very, very buttery as it is at the moment. So all I'm going to do is just break up any clusters that I have here. And then we'll just let it steam through. But look at this rice. Look at that perfect separation between each and every single granule, my friends. That is exactly what we're looking for. And I'm going to steal a little taste. Not too salty at all. Nice and buttery, nice and delicious. Just breaking up those granules. And everybody, last but not least, we slap a lid on it and we just let it steam until we're ready to eat. Ooh, that was delicious. That was a really lovely bite. Wow. Huh. I'm pretty impressed with that. Yeah, that was just excellent. Okay, my spoon burnt. Oh yeah, my spoon burnt a long time ago. And it's okay for a spoon to be burnt. That is totally fine. That's totally normal. Okay, back to the stove we go. And we just keep cooking on that stew. That viscosity is building up. I know I keep saying viscosity over and over. I'm getting sick of saying it, but that really is the only way to really describe this. Right? Okay, this is going to go off to a different burner, just so that we can go ahead and begin the process of sautéing all of my lovely vegetables. Oh gosh, I have something in my oven that I didn't clean up from last time. Whoops. That is okay. That happens to the best of us. We're going to grab a nice big stainless steel sauté pan, and this bad boy, we're going to get quite hot. We are going to really, really properly sear the zucchini and the squash itself, my friends. We're going to get it nice and caramelized, nice and delicious. We're going to get that flavor really developed on it. When I say I want it browned, I'm going to get it nice and browned. Okay? So, what oil do we use here? I'm actually going to be using some olive oil for this, and I'm going to explain to you why. Zucchini always soaks up a little bit of fat when you're cooking it. The oil is not just a lubrication. The oil is a component. The oil is as much of an ingredient as everything else is. So, well actually, oh wait, no, I wanted to toss the zucchini with the oil. We need a little bit of oil in there anyways. It'll be okay. We're going to toss the zucchini separately with the oil, and I'm going to explain to you why. I had a whole lecture planned and I slightly messed up, but that's okay. It's still going to happen. It's still going to work out. So, everybody come with me. I need your attention for this. Okay? So I'm going to show you something very cool and something really, really important. I want you to notice something. Look at my medium chunks of vegetables. Look at my medium chunks of vegetables. Okay, these bad boys right here, they are truthfully a little difficult to evenly season. They have a lot of irregular sides. We're not going to be tossing this pan or anything. These zucchinis are going to get placed individually and then flipped. So, instead of seasoning them on the pan, the best method is to first coat them separately with oil and then toss them with our salt and our pepper. And that way, it gets nicely and evenly properly coated and evenly seasoned without there being little pockets of salt. Okay? So, a little bit of olive oil, and I do mean a little bit goes on. The olive oil is what helps the zucchini to stick to the seasoning. Okay? Take it and just toss it. Toss it, you just coat it in the oil. Toss it, toss it, toss it, toss it, toss it, toss it, toss it. Just like so. Lovely. In goes a bunch of salt to season these little guys. So take it, big pinch of salt, and toss it, toss it, toss it, toss it. Just to get them all really evenly covered inside of all of that salt. So this, my friends, this is how you get them to be really evenly seasoned. No blind spots whatsoever. Okay? And then we'll do the same exact thing with a bunch of black pepper. I'm going to actually go back and just stir my stew, make sure no funny business is happening, nothing is squelching, nothing is sticking, right? Especially because it's getting so viscous, there is a real risk of things burning at the bottom. And so I'm going in there, stirring it, and making sure that does not happen on my watch. Lovely. Ooh, Guys, that stew, that is now getting thick, that is now getting creamy, and in goes a bunch of black pepper, freshly ground, as always. And this isn't anything crazy. This is just a very basic technique. And you can never have too much black pepper. So, get back in here. And see, my friends, you can see the pepper is now coating the zucchini. You can see the salt is coating it. The oil helps it to stick to the seasoning itself. And this way, we get really, really evenly seasoned vegetables instead of there being blind spots. Okay? So slowly continuing to just heat that bad boy back on up. I'm going back in, I'm stirring up my stew. It's getting intense. It's getting creamy. It's getting thick and it's getting concentrated. It's looking lovely. You just have to be patient with the thickening stage. The coconut milk will do the job. You just have to be patient for it. Okay? Ooh. Guys, I want you to look at my stew. I want you to look at my stew really quickly. Thick and creamy, and it's going to be ready for the shrimp in a little bit of time, but first, we must fry my zucchini. Okay. Very cool. So, pan. I want to get that pan nice and hot, but once again, we don't heat it up on high. We heat it up on medium for a longer period of time. Nice amount of oil just to get the whole thing really, really beautifully lubricated so that there is no stickage at all. And we're going to properly sear these little zucchinis. Okay? Thank you, Vehebra. I'm glad that you think so. I'm glad that you like it. Okay. So, everybody, my olive oil should now be nice and hot at this stage. And now we will go in with all of my lovely zucchini. We're going to be using some tongs to flip these bad boys around. So first, redistribute my oil. In it goes, and in goes my zucchini. There she is. In it goes, flip them around so they're flesh side down. And we're going to let them cook on that one side. Flip them, flip them, flip them, flip them. Flip them all around. There we go. Nice hot pan. Zucchini is going on. And everybody, leave them on that side. We're not tossing it right now. We're not doing anything crazy with them. All that we're going to do is just let them really get nice and caramelized. So I'm just going to move a few of them around just so that they have a little bit more space from each other. And you need a nice wide pan. If your pan is too small, it's going to build up so much steam that it's not going to properly distribute. Okay, that things are not going to properly and easily evaporate. It's not going to get caramelized. It's just going to sit there and boil in its own liquid. The negative space is so important. Okay? The negative space is important because that is where the water is able to evaporate out of, and so that it's able to continue to caramelize. Everybody, we're in the final stages of today. Once the veggies are done, which takes basically no time at all that we have to really do is just get the shrimp nicely poached, finish it off with the herbs, and serve it. So I am really excited for that. I'm really excited to be able to hit that point in the cooking process for today. And I'll just get a different little coaster plate. Excellent. Nice low heat on the stew. Oh yeah, everybody, that stew, that looks exactly where I want it to now. Okay, so the zucchini, very little sugar. Zucchini, you can't really burn it too much. It likes to have color on it. It likes to be really beautifully caramelized. It also has a lot of water content. So in order to caramelize it, you need time, my friends. You cannot rush this process. So every so often, I'm just taking it and I'm inspecting it, right? Some of them will be further along than others. That's okay. But we're just inspecting it and we want to get them nice and golden brown. I want to get them really, really flavorful, okay? And you can hear them frying away now, all in that awesome olive oil. Exactly what we wanted. And just again, so important to make sure that they have their space. If you don't give them enough space, they're not going to develop correctly. Okay? If you want to be lazy, you can also roast them in the oven. Well, an oven roast is actually not a bad idea, but the reason why I don't want to oven roast these is because it can cook the insides a little bit too much. By having only direct heat from the pan and not the air temperature, we're developing caramelization without turning them into mush. I love soft, creamy zucchini, but I wanted a crunchy zucchini today. That was my goal. Ooh, everybody, the moqueca is gonna come out excellent. Again, I'm just stirring in all of that coconut milk, scraping up the sides, scraping it all in there. You guys can't see it yet, but you will, I promise. You will soon enough. Hi. It's good to see all of you. But guys, the goal isn't to just throw them onto the pan and be done with it. I want some real char. I want some real caramelization. I want some really beautiful color to be developed on it, okay? And for that, it needs some time. There you go. Again, that one side that we put them down on, still not fully caramelized, at least to my taste. So we can keep it going even longer. It's gonna be crispy. It's gonna still have some texture to it. It's still gonna be super, super delicious. And just a really simple, really basic side dish, my friends. Give it some time. Give it some love. Give it some energy. Okay, don't rush this process. Come on, flip over. Thank you. Hi. So yeah, we're just hanging out in the meantime. Nothing crazy going on. The rice is already done. The moqueca stew base is effectively done. The shrimp has been marinating. I'll show you guys how the shrimp looks in just a second. And then we'll also get all of the plates ready for today as well. Ooh, that moqueca, oh, that's gonna be lovely. And I'll also put away a few dirty bowls while I have a second. And I'll also be putting away my cutting board. Just again, everybody cleaning as we are going today, as always. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin flipping that zucchini. Right, let's just see how that side did. Oh yeah, nice and beautiful golden. It can be a little bit charred, that's okay. Guys, I promise you, zucchini tastes so, so nice if you give it that little bit of extra char that you wouldn't give other vegetables. They don't have too much sugar in it. Thus, that charring doesn't make them too bitter. It's really, really nice when it's that deeply, deeply browned, okay? They get so lovely. They develop so much flavor. Give that zucchini some love. We're not boiling it. We're not boiling it, not even one bit. Okay, just flip them over. Keep flipping them over. Get them all going. Oh yeah, nice and crispy, that one. Really simple stuff, my friends. Not rocket science. And these tongs might not be delicate enough. I might be kind of hurting them at least a little bit by doing it like this, but that's okay. Come on, buddy. Get back here. Thank you. And thank you. There you go. Flip back around. Really simple, really delicious, but we're still going to be keeping it nice and crispy, my friends. But yeah, zucchini, it will always inevitably, okay, absorb some of the oil. That is why it is so, so, so important that we use a delicious fat. We're not using coconut oil, we're not using canola oil, we're not using vegetable oil, we're using olive oil so that, hey, if it soaks it up, it becomes a feature and not a problem. It is okay for food to be greasy if the oil is delicious, right? That's not a problem at all at that point. So, I'm going to say that these are done. I still want some texture. I still want some snap to them. I don't want them to be basically completely cooked into mush for the sake of developing texture. I'm going to say that that is all ready to go, and I'll be taking it off of the stove. They've got a nice little pan roast. Even if it's not the most even crust in the world, I think that should still do for today. And I'm going to put it on a paper towel. You don't have to if you don't want to. It is, again, just to mitigate some of the amount of oil on it. So take them off one by one, take them off individually, get them out of here, and then we'll come back to the moqueca. Okay. Everybody, it is time for us to finish my beautiful moqueca. The zucchini has sauteed properly. It looks gorgeous. and we'll be tasting that in just a second. Let's switch this pan. Let's get them out of here. So, let's get to my lovely moqueca. Look at it, my friends. Look how golden it is. Look how orange it is. Look how delicious it looks. It is flavorful. It is aromatic. It is everything that you've ever wanted it to be and more. That is a lovely pot of moqueca. And it still is without the shrimp. You can see how thick and creamy it's gotten. Is everybody still watching? I want to hear a nice yes, chef, please, and thank you. You can see how thick it is. You can see how creamy it is. You can see how much viscosity it has. And now everybody, once again, let's taste it for salt now. Because the shrimp itself, it's already been seasoned. The liquid, we need to make sure that the broth, that this liquid, that the stew itself, that this has enough seasoning for us. Delicious, yummy. Definitely a little bit more salt. So one more little pinch, but all the other components should now be perfect. Okay, in goes a little pinch of salt. That'll be perfect for my uses today. Scraping up the sides. Get all of that coconut in. Get all of that sauce in. Put it back into the pot. And now, everybody, remember my shrimp. My shrimp that was slowly marinating. Oh, excuse me. My shrimp that was slowly marinating. And all of my lime juice. That's going to get added in, and we're going to gently poach it. Also, Jack, I'll get to your question in a second. Look at my shrimp. Lime juice and salt, really simple, really tasty. Back to the stove. Everybody, lower that heat. I don't want this moqueca boiling. I don't want it boiling. I don't want it to be bubbling away because I want to gently poach the shrimp. We add the shrimp in, but if the water is too hot, if the liquid is too hot, we're going to end up overcooking the outside before the inside of the shrimp is done. The shrimp take no time at all, and I do not want rubbery shrimp. I want tender, perfectly cooked shrimp. And this is how we do it. So, in it goes. Lime juice and all, everybody. Added in, the lime juice is going to be some really nicely welcomed acidity. I'm going to just be moving this with some tongs to make my life easier, so I don't have to contaminate that wooden spoon. Make sure that they're all nice and separated. Low heat, everybody. Low heat. I don't want it bubbling. I don't want it boiling. I don't want it aggressively cooking. I want something gentle. I want it gentle, gentle, gentle. Okay? So in went all of my luscious, all of my lovely shrimp. I'm gonna go ahead and wash up my hands. Is it bubbling? Is it boiling? I stepped away from it. I don't know if it is or not. No, I think it's actually perfect. Everybody, this only needs a few minutes. The shrimp takes no time at all to cook. We'll finish it with the cilantro, we'll finish it with the scallion, and then we'll be able to plate and eat. That'll be great. Ugh. Lovely. That's just doing its own thing. Giving it a second of time. Awesome. Super gentle cooking, my friends. Delicate. Okay? We gotta respect the shrimp. Respect the shrimp and he'll respect you. The shrimp will be tender. The shrimp will have that lovely texture. It's not gonna be rubbery. It's not gonna be chewy. If your shrimp is rubbery and chewy, that's because you didn't respect it. That's because you overcooked it. That's because you blasted it with heat. And shrimp does not need to be that way at all. It does not need to be that way one bit, in fact. Things can get better, guys. So listen to what I'm telling you. Respect the shrimp. Gently cook it, gently simmer it. Okay? I didn't use my wooden spoon before because that would have otherwise contaminated the wooden spoon. But now the shrimp has been in that liquid for a little bit. I feel comfortable just giving it a little stir around now. Just to see how it's doing, just to make sure it's all evenly cooking. The shrimp isn't fully cooked through yet, but that's okay. It still just needs a little bit more time. Slowly, everybody. At most, 5 minutes. It really should never be more than that. But that's just about ready to go. I did see the recommendation you're just talking about. Yeah, I've already watched quite a bit of cooking history with Max Miller. That is a channel that I'm quite familiar with, I must say. Just taking a second. Okay. Oh yeah, chef. Excuse me, Jack. I didn't mean to call you chef. I'm the chef here. Jack, you asked me about like overrated dishes. I forgot what your question was. Okay, everybody, the shrimp has fully curled up on itself. That is a very good indication that the shrimp is exactly where we want it to be. Okay, it's curled up on itself. It is probably all the way through. We're going to give it just about another minute, and then we'll kill the heat. We'll finish it with the herbs, and then it'll be all done. Is there a cooking technique or dish that I think is overhyped, Jack? Pan frying. I think the idea of a pan fry is very overhyped. I'm going to explain to you why. Shallow frying / pan frying in like a couple of inches of oil, it doesn't give you the even color of a deep fry. It gives you a lot of splotchiness. And then on top of that, it doesn't actually yield to be that crispy. And it's also still about as messy and as annoying as actually fully deep frying something. So I find that anytime I've heard like, oh, we do a pan fry, we do a shallow fry, I've always found it to be so much more effort than it's actually worth. So I do not like that at all. Also, waffle makers, yeah, that's right. Well, I don't hate waffle makers. I hate Teflon waffle makers. Waffle makers or waffle irons can be made out of a beautiful cast iron. It can be nice and seasoned. It can be really, really beautifully nonstick, and it can get it nice and crispy. And the heat conduction on one is so much better. But nonstick ones, nonstick waffle makers do kind of suck. Okay, everybody, I'm going to tell you with confidence that my shrimp is officially done cooking. And now let's go ahead and finish it. Let's do my gratuitous thumbnail shot. Let's go in with my final scallion and cilantro. All of it in, all of it in, all of it in, all of it inside. And let's stir this in. Everybody, this is my final moqueca. Look at it. She's done. She's ready to go. She's loaded with those fresh herbs, with that fresh cilantro, with the shrimp that's been soaked in the lime juice. So everybody, I think it's going to be time for us to play it. Is everybody ready for this? I'm going to need to hear one last final definitive yes, chef, please. And thank you, because we're going to scoop it up. We're going to get it ready to go. We're going to get it all plated. Everybody, we're going to get ourselves a nice, lovely portion of rice. Get some zucchini on there. Get some of this, and it's all going to come together. It's going to be amazing. Okay. Oh, gosh, I didn't actually turn off the heat, did I? That boiled in a little too much now. Well, it'll still be delicious. Okay. I am going to go ahead and grab a little cup. We're going to do the rice method, everybody. The Reddit rice method, where you take a container, you take a little cup, you fill it up with rice, and then you flip it over on something. Okay, there you go. All of that delicious rice. Take it onto the plate after you've flattened it, of course, all the way around. I'm using my fingers because I didn't flatten it the first time. So just get rid of all of the air bubbles. Take it and flip it over, and you get this cute little puck of rice right down the middle of it. And now we'll go in and take a nice big ladle, everybody. It is time for the moqueca. Let's take it with all of those lovely little shrimps. Take it and pour it in. Take it and pour it in. That looks quite good. I'm plating this the same exact way that I did my Japanese curry. And then I'm just going to have separately my zucchini, just in a nice little pile off to the side. Just because I want my sauteed zucchini, I want it somewhat separate, but I'm okay if it does end up getting into some of the moqueca itself. So I just kind of threw that onto the plate. That's okay. Everybody, we are done. We have finished my dish for today. My first time doing Brazilian food. We have this incredible shrimp coconut stew. We fried, so simple, onions and bell pepper and a bunch of oil. Okay, we added in garlic, red chilies, we added in some cilantro stems, we added in some tomatoes, and we made our own shrimp broth. We made some shrimp stock out of the shrimp shells. The shrimp itself, we marinated in lime juice and salt. We added in at the end alongside cilantro and scallion. Coconut milk to help thicken the whole thing. Some really nicely sauteed zucchini separately. And then everybody, I just made some rice here. Sauteed some orzo, sauteed some sushi rice. Added in some chicken stock, and there we go. So everybody, the moqueca, creamy and fruity and delicious and flavorful. Let's have a nice bite with the rice. Cheers. Some shrimp. Oh. Oh, that's hot. Everything is gentle. Everything is flavorful. Everything is perfectly seasoned. Super rich. Super delicious. So that's my moqueca. That's my first time doing it. Hopefully I did it justice. I think I did it justice. Oh. A little bit more. Awesome. Everybody, I'm quite happy about that. That's going to be it for today. Thank you all for being here. My first time doing Brazilian food. I think it came out wonderfully. Thank you all. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Remember, next stream is going to be this Wednesday. I will see you all in 3 days' time. Housekeeping. Check out my Patreon, !Patreon. That's the best way to directly support the show. My goal is to be able to do this full-time one day. And any and all help there would be really appreciated. Thank you all for being here. I hope you all have a good rest of your Sunday night. Good luck with the upcoming week that you have coming up ahead of you. Thank you all for the subs and everything that you guys always do for me. And I will see you all this Wednesday. Till then, bye-bye.